A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Well, Jane Ace has a new idea on how to balance her household budget. She learned last night there was a place she could borrow money. All she has to do is to obtain 2 signatures on a note. Having shown a loss of $13 a week for 2 weeks, she hopes to borrow some money to balance her budget. This episode takes place in alternating scenes between the loan company and Mr. Ace's real estate office. But first to the loan company, where we find Jane applying for a loan. Listen.
Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
What can I do for you this morning?
Well, I'd like to look at some of that money you advertised to land.
You'd like to look at it?
Yes, this is a friendly loan and finance company, isn't it? You lend it, don't you?
Well, yes, of course, but it all depends.
Depends.
Oh, won't you have a chair, madam?
Thank you.
Is this your first application for a loan here?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it is?
Yes. Why? Your ad didn't say I have to have experience.
Well, no, experience?
Beg pardon?
What's that?
What?
Now, let's take this over again. You say you're applying for a loan, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How much do you want to borrow?
$100.
$100, yes. Do you have security?
Oh, yes.
I see. What kind of security?
Oh, the security every girl feels she ought to have when she marries a man who makes a nice living for her. Because I always say a wife should take the bitter with the better. And things were much better before my husband started me on a budget. But now that they're bitter, that doesn't mean they won't get better. That's why I'm here.
Now, let's take this over again. You say you're applying for the loan of $100. Is that correct?
Yes, $100.
Yes. I then asked you the usual form question number 1. Have you security?
Yes, and I told you
Madam, I don't think you understand what I'm talking about collateral. Collateral or security you can put up against the loan.
Now, let's take this over again. I want to borrow $100.
Yes, $100.
I was talking to Mrs. Benton last night. She told me about this place, and she showed me the ad where you advertise you lend money. And she said all I have to do is to get 2 people to sign a note, and I get $100.
Oh, I see. You wish the 2 signature loan. Well, that simplifies matters. Yes.
Yes.
Here we are. I'll fill this out for you. May I have your name, please?
Jane Ace.
Jane?
Ace. A-C-E.
Ace. Mrs.?
Oh, yes, Mrs. Ace.
I see. Your husband is employed?
Well, he's in the real estate business.
Real estate. For himself?
Yes, he has an office.
Oh, yes, in business for himself. And you, Mrs. Ace, do you work?
Me? Oh, no, Mr. Ace wouldn't think of letting me.
I see. Now, may I ask for what purpose you wish this loan?
Well, it's on account of a budget Mr. Ace made me start. Every week I've had a loss. The first week I lost $13, and the second week I lost $13. He expects me to have a profit every week. And I guess I could. Only things happen each week that I don't expect, and I have a loss. Well, when I try to explain to Mr. Ace about it, he just says that he gives me enough money to run the house, and I have to worry about paying all the bills. Well, this week I have the grocery bill to pay. Next week it'll be something else. So I thought if I could borrow the money, I could pay the bills.
Money to be used to pay household bills.
Yes, that's it.
Yes. Of course, you understand our policy.
Beg pardon?
You can make the payments weekly or monthly, but in either case, they must be made regularly. In case of a payment omission, a penalty accrues. And if omissions occur too often, the company reserves the right to collect from either or both the endorsees.
I want to borrow $100.
Of course, I understand. But I was only trying to make sure you understand our policy. I was saying that if you don't make your payments promptly, you are fined. And if you fail to make 2 payments promptly, whether they be by the week or month, we can call on your co-signers to pay the note. Oh, by the way, how do you expect to make these payments?
How?
Yes, I have to fill that in right here. How will you make the payment?
Oh, promptly.
Promptly? No, you're making me write the wrong things here. I'll take a fresh blank. I mean, how? By the week or the month?
Oh, by the month, I guess.
Monthly payments, yes. Now, yes. This is another form you'll have to fill out with your husband's signature.
My husband?
Yes, he just signs right here. I'll place an X right at the...
But does my husband have to know about this money I'm borrowing?
You mean to say you're borrowing this money without your husband's knowledge?
Well, yes, I thought I was.
Oh, not here. Our company makes it a very strict rule that when a husband borrows money, he must bring in his wife's signature and vice versa. It's one of our very first rules.
Well, I didn't know that the way Mrs. Benton told me. I thought all I had to do was to get two people to sign the note. Now you say I have to get my husband and two people to sign the note?
Well, your husband doesn't sign the note. You get him to sign this form.
But not the two people?
No, get your husband a loan.
Get my husband a loan? I'm the one that wants to get a loan.
Yes, I understand. You want to get a loan.
But you just said to get Mr. Ace a loan.
Not get him a loan. Get him a loan on this form.
Get him a loan. There, you said it again.
But when I say a loan, I don't mean a loan.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean get him a loan.
You feel all right, Mr.
Bailey, and I feel fine, or I did. Look, Mrs. Ace, I was speaking of this form to be filled out by you and signed by your husband.
Yes, now tell it slow or you'll get mixed up.
I'm trying to explain it clearly, madam. You asked if the two co-signers had to sign this, and I said no.
Yes.
I said get your husband a loan.
There, now what did you just say?
I said get him a loan.
Well, I hate to get sarcastic, Mr. Bailey, but I keep saying I'm the one that wants to get the loan.
The loan, but not a loan. Now, do you see?
Is this the first loan you ever made, Mr. Bailey?
Yes, this is the first. No, this is not. Look, madam, I've tried to explain to you the policy of our company in making loans. I've been very patient with you, but I'll try just once more. You must get your husband.
Oh, hello, Dave. Come on in. I was waiting for you.
Hi, Ace. I came over as soon as I could. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. And you?
Well, how's Mrs. Ace?
Well, if you like Mrs. Ace, she's all right.
Well, what'd you call me over for? You want me to write you some more insurance?
Oh, no, nothing like that.
I thought I loaded you up pretty well.
I'll say you loaded me up. You know that last annuity thing you sold me?
Yeah?
Yeah, you said I wouldn't miss the money. I had to pay on that every month?
Yeah?
Well, I paid it for nearly 2 years, and I've missed it every month. So what I called you about is this, Dave. I need some cash.
Who doesn't?
Well, I need quite a bit of cash, and I'd like to borrow on some of my insurance.
Sure thing.
Oh, easy as that?
Easier. Now, how much you going to need?
$3,500.
$3,500.
Yeah, you see, I've got a chance to grab the biggest bargain in real estate I've ever run across. I can double my money in no time, but I need just $3,500 to get this bargain. I could go to the bank, but I don't want to. There are several reasons. The most important is that I don't want to start explaining to those guys down there just where this property is. I'm in on the real ground floor of this one, and I want to grab it while the grabbing's good.
I get you.
Now, how about being a pal and drawing up the necessary papers and getting me the cash as soon as you can?
Sure thing.
How long do you think that'll be?
Oh, no time at all, practically. Just as long as it'll take you to make out the usual forms.
Fine. Can you get them over today?
Well, I might. How about Mrs. Ace?
Mrs. Ace? What about her?
Well, can you get her over here to sign?
Well, what does she have to sign? I'm the one
Yes,
that...
well, you see, the insurance has been assigned to Mrs. Ace, and you can't borrow on it without her signature.
Oh, I see.
Of course, it's a matter of form.
Oh, sure, I understand. I was just thinking, though, I guess I'll have to take the papers home this evening and have Mrs. Ace sign them there.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll have them over to you this afternoon.
Will you, Dave? I'll appreciate it.
Sure, and I hope you put over the deal.
Oh, I'll get her to sign them tonight and have them over to you first thing in the morning. I should get some action then, shouldn't I?
Absolutely. I'll start the ball rolling right away. I'll hop right on over and get busy. See you later.
And that is why our company insists on getting your husband's signature on this form. Now, I hope I've made it perfectly clear, have I?
Yes, but I'm afraid that's going to be the fly in the oatmeal.
Fly in the...
Because I wanted to do this without his knowing about it, like he does at his office. When he needs money in his business, he always borrows it, and I don't know anything about it. I never sign anything for him.
Well, I suppose he has credit at his bank. Either his own signature is all that is necessary, or he has some security. Now, if you had the right security, we could do away with all these details. You have a car?
Beg pardon?
You have a car?
Oh, yes, we've got a car. Why?
In whose name is it?
Ford.
Who's that?
Who?
What?
What's going on here? Didn't you ask me the name of our car?
Yes, I said in whose name is the car? Who owns it, you or your husband?
Oh, who owns it?
Yes.
Well, I never thought of it like that. I guess we both own it. We both ride around it whenever we want to.
But it must belong to one of you. Maybe this will simplify it. Are there initials on it?
Initials?
Yes. Whose initials are on it?
B8.
No, Mrs. Ace.
Well, you asked me what
let's
initials...
forget about it. We'll just make your loan a two-signature loan. This is the note you get two people to sign. Of course, they must be responsible parties, either regularly employed or in business. And, of course, the friendly loan and finance company reserves the right to reject any or all signatures.
Well, it doesn't sound very friendly the way you tell us.
Well, after all, it's business, Mrs. Ace. Now, this is the note. You see, I've checked where you sign and where the others sign.
2 signers. There has to be 2, huh?
Yes, there must be 2 co-signers.
And I can get the $100?
Well, we must make sure the 2 people who sign it are responsible parties. If they're not, we can't accept their signatures.
Well, then what happens?
Then you must get somebody else. If we accept one and not the other, you must get one more before you can get your $100.
Well, couldn't I get $50 for one signature?
Of course not. There must be 2 signers.
And my husband?
Yes, but your husband is not a co-signer. He merely signs this other form.
Yes, I understand about that, and that's where I'm afraid I'm going to have trouble.
Oh, I don't think so. The trouble most of our customers usually have is in finding the 2 co-signers.
Oh, I won't have any trouble about that. I've got one already. There's a girl. She's my best friend. She lives with us.
Is she a responsible person? I mean, is she employed?
Oh, yes, she works. She's got a very good job. She'll sign it.
I hope so.
What do you mean you hope so? She's my best friend.
Well, I wouldn't place too much faith in that, Mrs. Ace. If you really need this money as badly as you say you do, I'd certainly have a few other friends in mind just in case. Especially if you need the money as urgently as you say you do.
Oh, yes, I need it right away.
Yes, of course. Now, Mrs. Ace, just what kind of a loan did you have in mind?
What kind?
Yes, you want a 60-day loan, a 90-day loan? Or...
90 days? Oh, no, I need it much sooner than that.
No. I said a 90-day loan.
I heard you, and it's going to take that long to get it.
Oh, horse feathers, if I may borrow an expression.
Well, who's borrowing here? You or I? What's going on here anyway?
Well, both Jane and Mr. Ace have some important business to talk to each other about, both concerning the signing of papers. Just how they make out and how Jane makes out getting signers for her note, we learn when next we meet the Easy.
This is Walter O'Keefe, inviting you to listen in on the Nightline. Tonight, live the incredible life of ages yet to come, in a time that might be 1,000,000 years from now, on X-1. Now, an incredible story of the world beyond.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents X-1. Tonight, Inside Story by Richard Wilson. But first, hear this. I know a couple old friends that argue about everything. Politics, world affairs, even the time of day. One thing they agree on, though, is Pabst Blue Ribbon Draft Beer. They say it's the best. And for a change, they're both right. Pabst Blue Ribbon Draft is a bright, modern-tasting beer that still has plenty of that old-fashioned beer flavor. Next time you see that sign that says, Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer on draft, stop in, order a glass. You'll soon know why so many folks agree on the bright, modern taste of Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer of Milwaukee. Now, X-1 and Inside Story.
Every wire service man knows that when the legislature shuts down for the hot weather, when it gets too warm for crimes of passion, that's the start of the silly season. It's the time when the teletype chatters about the largest pumpkin grown in Sauk County and the dog that found its way home from Luna Base to the Cocoa Island rocket port. Well, it was the silly season when I reported to headquarters Martian sector of the Galactic News Service at IOPA. I found the bureau chief, Scott Warren, looking sourly at a strip of copy.
GNS Sonala add lizards.
Lizards?
Lizards.
Mm.
New light on the longevity span of the Martian sand lizard was shed today by the Sonala Zoological Society. Now, that is what I call hot news. Flash copy.
Dull day?
Following a dull night. Was it like this in New York when you left?
They had me covering a kitten in a tree in Gramercy Park.
I would sell my soul for a nice, juicy cabinet crisis. Or else a little honest graft on a spaceport contract.
Well, have you got any leads?
No. The Garrison Administration of Martian Colonial Affairs is depressingly honest.
When nothing's doing, you can stir it up a little. You know, rattle the local skeleton in the closet. Fan the fires a little.
Have you read the Publications Responsibility Act of 1997? You can get 20 years for what you were thinking.
Look, what's the local canker sore? What would you like most to get an inside story on? Something everybody covers up.
Well, there's Druro. Oh, but that's Simon Pure.
What's Druro?
Nully Sanctuary.
Oh, religious institution?
No. It's a quarantine set up for null-gravity neurocatinosis. Nully fever. It's completely segregated. Nobody's ever gotten a report out of there.
Well, it sounds like a natural.
Look, George, you're new. You don't fool around with Nully fever here on Mars. Be like lighting a cigarette in a powder magazine.
Chief, how would you like an inside story out of Druro?
You can't get in.
I will give 8 to 5. Now, look, who's in charge?
The Ministry of Health, but you can't...
Okay. Don't let the sand lizard take up all the space. I will get in. It wasn't so easy. I did fine over at the Health Ministry until I mentioned Druro. And then I might just as well have had a galloping case of Nully fever myself. I was referred to the press officer, to the assistant administrator, to the legal department, the protocol division, and then back to the press officer. Finally, I got in to see the commissioner, Dr. Marks.
Just what caused you to raise the question of Druro, Mr. Gordon?
Look, Dr. Marks, what I want is your permission to visit Druro and get the inside story.
Visit Druro? You mean inside the camp?
Yes, that's right.
Mr. Gordon, I am quoting Administrative Code, Section 65. Any person found within the perimeter at Druro is considered to be a Nully fever victim. Contagion is something like 99% certain at a range of 100 yards.
What's the treatment?
Druro.
You mean they're just shoved there to rot?
A Nully, Mr. Gordon, will rot wherever he is. He deteriorates to the point of total sterility. Take my advice. Forget it.
Naturally, I didn't forget it. I did more research. I found out that Nully fever seemed to be a mutated virus that got that way in the early Earth-Mars rockets that had inadequate radiological shielding. The symptoms masqueraded as half a dozen diseases, but the end product was the same. A physical deterioration that I don't care to go into. And a psychological lowering to an animal state.
You're listening to Inside Story, tonight's attraction on X-1. Now, back to X-1 and Inside Story.
I may be a little reckless following a story, but believe me, there isn't a bonus big enough to make a hero out of me. I had no intention of contracting Nully fever just to provide a byline story for old GNS. I had stumbled onto something, and I was wearing it when I dropped into the bureau and asked Scott if he noticed anything different about me.
You're putting on a little weight?
No. Guess again.
Your pants aren't hanging right. Your shirt's all bunched up.
That's because I am wearing the latest fashion, an invisible suit.
Oh, goodbye. Try another one.
Look, I'm not kidding. It's heat-proof and airtight. They developed it over at Mars Electronics for spacesuit use.
You mean you're all buttoned up? Well, how do I hear you?
Short wave from a miniaturized dental mic. It's hanging on a front tooth, see?
You're not kidding. Well, how come it's invisible?
It beats me. Something to do with a non-refractive coating. You need that for dark side work on airless satellites. I got an experimental model from a PRO at ME.
What's it good for?
Outside of spaceship work, not much, except it is my ticket to Druro.
Now, wait a minute.
Don't you get it, Chief? I can't be infected, not with this suit on. It's absolutely airtight. Don't worry, I'll be safe. Wrapped in plastifilm like chewing gum.
Yeah, but that won't get you past the perimeter into the nully camp.
Just leave that to me. I've got that figured out, too. I picked up a sandcat out to the town of Druro and waited for 2 days. There was a shipment of nullies, the last of the Sinala roundup, due at the camp. Out of respect to public opinion, they dumped nullies at night, which suited me fine. About 100 nullies were going over the newcomers like kangaroo caught in a frontier jail. I don't think anybody actually got killed, but they almost tore the new bunch to pieces, grabbing cigarettes, jackknives, buttons, shoes, anything. And then, like as not, the old-timers would fight each other for it. The whole thing was over at dawn, and I could get a look around the camp. There were prefab huts and some trees. I started over to one of the huts.
My hut.
Take it easy, friend. I'm not going to hurt you. Look, I'm your friend.
Sure. You think you're going to steal my ration, huh? I'll kill you first.
How long have you been here?
2 years. Got a cigarette?
Here. No, don't grab. I'll toss you one.
Don't you make a move towards me.
Sure. What were you before you got in here?
Huh? A teacher. An IOPA technical. I fixed them before they got me. I cut down 10 medics with a power drill.
When is breakfast, friend?
You go plenty hungry. Ration isn't until tomorrow. You think there was some fight last night? Wait till you see ration drop. Last time somebody tried to beat me to a ration case, I fixed her.
Never mind. Don't tell me about it. Hey, what's that over there? Up the hill. Looks like a regular fortress.
What are you trying to do? Hurt me?
No, I just asked you what goes on up there, those other huts inside that barricade.
You spying for them? Yeah, sure. You're spying for them, you dirty...
It isn't easy to get used to dodging nasty backhand punches that came out of the blue and were meant to kill, if possible. I got my arm up in time to catch about half the force, and the man ran off with my pack of cigarettes. But there was something up that hill worth looking into. A barricaded section set apart from the rest. So I started up. When I hit the woods, I stopped just 3 feet short of a 10-foot spear.
All right, you. Get back down the hill.
Now, take it easy, will you? What's going on up here?
Go on, get moving. I've got orders to kill if I have to.
You don't understand. I just want to find out...
Yeah, sure you do. They always do. Every time there's a new batch, there's a few still smart enough to plan together, and they come up here spying.
Spying on what? Look, I'm
I'll
a
count
newspaper...
3, and then you get it in the belly.
No hero I got before he reached 1.5. That night, I managed to talk to the ex-teacher without either of us slugging the other. I asked him about the guard on the hill.
They get all the best rations. They make us give up our food or they come kill us. They've got spears and knives.
You mean there's a gang up there living off the rest of you?
Yeah. I killed one of them once. Caught him from behind with a rock. They came down and killed 10 of us. Didn't get me, though. Funny, huh?
I got the picture. It's been the same every time men are herded together like animals. Andersonville, Buchenwald, and Dachau, the Alaskan camps in the 70s, and now Druro. The strong live off the others, a kind of racketeering in spades. Grab the best of everything, live as rich as you can, and don't worry how many you leave to starve to death.
We're going to get them, though. Tonight. Got rocks together and clubs. Go up there and
And we'll get 'em.
You come.
I didn't have much choice. They would have torn me apart. About 10 o'clock at night, the mob gathered at the foot of the hill. Every once in a while, they'd swipe at each other with a club or a rock, but mostly they shouted up at the hill. And then suddenly, without any signal, they charged. It was kind of sick. Men and women, heaven knows what they were before, teachers, mothers, anything, screaming and running up that hill. And then the defenders cut loose. There were torches so I could see, rocks rolled down, boiling water, spears, arrows, enough to cut down that unarmed mob. I was hiding behind a tree now, sick, good and sick. When it happened... No!
Hold on, Bud. I'm going to pull this arrow out. Here it goes now.
Where am I?
Up the hill. That's where you wanted to go, isn't it?
But how did...
We dragged you up here.
Herb, get some bandages up here.
You're one of them, aren't you?
One of who?
The big shots, the kingpins, gangsters.
You didn't get hit in the head, did you?
Oh, it's too bad they didn't wipe you out up here. It's tough enough living in a place like this, but to prey on the weak ones...
Look, fella, I think maybe you got the wrong idea.
Oh, thank heaven I'm safe from this kind of...
Yeah, I wondered when you'd notice. That fancy suit of yours got torn when the arrow hit.
Oh, no. Nully fever.
That's why we hauled you up here. We spotted something funny about you. A kettle of boiling water splashed on you, and you didn't even notice. Who are you?
George Gordon, Galactic News Service.
A newsman? Listen, does anybody know you're in here?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a chance. Can you tell them they got to let us out? Tell them what it's like up here. Make them understand. We write messages for the ration planes, and they ignore them. You can't get close enough to the guards to shout, they shoot you down. They got to let us out.
Oh, sure. After what I've seen, that's the last thing I do. Try to con somebody into letting this loose on the population. I've seen enough nullies. Even if I have to spend the rest of my life in this camp, I don't want to be responsible for making more.
Wait a minute. You don't get it. We're not nullies up here.
What? Nobody gets in the camp who isn't a nullie.
That's right. We all had it when we came in, but not anymore. Up here, we're cured.
You're lying.
You've got to believe me. We've been living up here for 4 years, keeping guard. Trying to live like human beings in the middle of those animals down there. Losing maybe 3 or 4 a week, fighting them off.
You know, you're more dangerous than they are down there because somehow you've kept some intelligence, enough to want revenge on the rest of the world by infecting...
No, you've got to believe me. We're cured. Nully fever can be cured somehow because we've done it. About 100 of us. More now with the babies.
The what?
Babies. Normal, healthy babies.
He pointed across the clearing to another hut, and I saw it. A woman about 30, sitting on the doorsteps, nursing a baby, an infant. And I heard the words of the commissioner echoing in my ear. And, of course, total sterility. These weren't nullies, not anymore. If they could have babies, they must be cured, living as a desperate island in a mad world of violence. Well, you know the rest of it. You ought to. It was carried under my byline in every fact sheet on 3 planets. They had a micro-technician up the hill who gimmicked my miniature microphone with a hairpin and a piece of quartz crystal, so I cut in on the main traffic beam between Sinala and Iopa. I had Scott Warren at Government House in 15 minutes, threatening to blow the lid off the whole colonial government. The babies did it. Aerial photographs with micro-enlargements. They had pictures of those babies on the wire the next day. Red tape held it up a week. But finally, 100 cured ex-nullies and 1 reporter were out of Druro at Iopa General Hospital for checks. They found it. Nully fever is psychosomatic. You take somebody strong enough to fight for survival, give him incentive, and he'll lick it by himself. No miracle drugs needed. It starts with a virus, all right. But it ends with psychotherapy. A good dose of willpower. I got back to work in a month.
Welcome back, George. The teletype's dead as ever. Back to the longevity of the Martian sand lizard.
Truro Nully story played out?
Dead as last week's herring.
Well, what else is new? Maybe we can find another skeleton in the closet. How about life on the Martian moons? Now, that ought to be good for a headline.
Fred Collins again, and I'll have a word for you about next week's X-1 in a moment.
Hey, Molly, it's me. Where are you?
I'm here, McGee. What's the matter?
Are you doing anything?
Am I doing anything? I've got a towel wrapped around my head, a broom in one hand, a bucket of soap and water in the other, and the kitchen curtains under my arm, and you ask me if I'm doing anything. Sure, I'm vacationing in Florida.
Oh, here, Molly, let me take that stuff.
What are you doing?
Now, just sit down. Sit down right here.
Well, you're sweet, McGee, but I've got...
You can go back to work in a minute. I got something big to tell you. You know, something really big.
What have you gone and done?
We're going to be on Monitor.
Monitor?
NBC's fascinating, motivating, merry-making, scintillating, ever-vescerating weekend radio service.
Oh, that Monitor. Of course. And we're on it, McGee. When?
This weekend and every weekend. What do you say to that?
Oh, that's wonderful, McGee.
So don't make any plans, folks. We'll be seeing you this weekend. All weekend.
On Monitor.
And now a word about next week's story. The Category Inventors by Arthur Sellings on X-1. You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features Time Waits for Winthrop by William Tenn. Winthrop was literally the most stubborn and selfish man in 500 years. How could they convince him not to strand them in this society of shriek fields and panic stadiums? Galaxy Magazine, on your newsstand today. Tonight, X-1 has brought you Inside Story, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Richard Wilson and adapted for radio by Ernest Ganoy. Featured in our cast were Bob Hastings, Leon Janney, Ralph Bell, Richard Hamilton, Edwin Cooper, and Pat Hosley. This is Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
There's excitement in the air at night, and Nightline brings it to you. Hear Nightline with Walter O'Keefe, next on most of these NBC stations.
This is Walter O'Keefe, inviting you to listen in on the Nightline. Tonight, live the incredible life of ages yet to come, in a time that might be 1,000,000 years from now, on X-1. Now, an incredible story of the world beyond.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in 1,000,000, could be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight, The Category Inventor by Arthur Sellings. But first, hear this. I don't have time to tell you all about the many things that make Pabst Blue Ribbon a better-tasting, more thirst-quenching beer. Besides, you're more interested in how it tastes than how it's made. But one thing you should know. Experience is the most important ingredient in any beer. And Pabst is the product of America's oldest national brewer, established 1844. Pabst of Milwaukee. Now, X-1, as Nelson Olmsted stars in The Category Inventor.
Frankly, I didn't expect to have the trouble. The morning that it happened was just like any other morning. I came into the locker room and took off my coat, and through the open doors I could hear the welcome sound of the boys warming up. Perhaps I should have realized something was wrong when Kurt Bergson, the orchestra manager, came up to me.
Gilbert, how are you this morning?
Fine, Mr. Bergson. I'm not late, am I?
No, not late. You must have left the house early this morning.
Yes, I did. It was such a nice day, I thought I'd walk. Luckily, I don't play the double bass. Bassoon isn't so hard to carry.
You didn't get your mail this morning?
No, I didn't. Mail usually comes about 10 o'clock. Well, I better get out there and warm up.
Gilbert, I wish you had gotten your mail this morning. You see, I have to let you go.
What? But what do you mean? Why? What's the matter?
Well, you understand.
But there's a concert tonight and tomorrow night. Who could you get to replace me? Where can you get a bassoonist? Where? Oh, no.
I'm sorry, Gilbert. It had to happen.
Oh, no. Not the bassoon. The timpani I can understand and the piano, but not the bassoon. I'm going out there.
Don't, Gilbert. Don't. You'll just be unhappy.
Now, let me by, Mr. Bergson. I've got to see it with my own eyes. Of course, it was bound to happen. Where my music stand and chair had been stood a gleaming coppery robot. His music stand was attached to a bracket that came out from his forehead, and his electronic scanning eyes were blinking and ready. He had 7 fingers on each fully articulated hand. His lips were precast and perfect bassoonist embouchure, with flexi-plasti-butyl skin adjusting to the reed. I could hear the softly whirring motor of his constant pressure breath apparatus. It had come. The robot bassoonist.
Now, Gilbert, honey, you mustn't be depressed. It's not your fault. The world doesn't understand creative artists anymore.
Oh, bassoon player isn't creative, Marge. He executes.
Well, anyway, he's an artist. That means he's got intelligence and imagination. And that means he's got a head start when it comes to a new job, doesn't it, honey?
Sure. Yeah, head start. Marge, I tell you, there isn't any use. I've been checking into the category office every day. All I know is how to play the bassoon. Well, we'll just have to get used to being on reserve.
But what will we tell the children, dear?
And then, of course, one day the household robot broke down in the middle of breakfast.
Gilbert!
Well, what is it? What?
The robot right in the middle of getting breakfast, it exploded.
I'll ring Sitter.
Oh, but the children will be late to school. Call in, Michael.
Well, there's not much use in their hurrying if there's no breakfast, is there?
Well, I'm trying. You think it's easy making breakfast by hand?
No.
Don't just stand there. Do something.
Oh.
The children won't get any breakfast, and they've got enough to put up with.
Well, what do you mean by that? What exactly have they got to put up with?
Look, I haven't got time to argue with you. Which one of these tubes is the orange juice concentrate?
I think that's ketchup.
Well, turn it off.
Oh, you jammed it.
Oh, it's been like this ever since you stopped.
Ever since I what?
Oh, keep your hand over the ketchup. It's flooding the kitchen.
Ever since what? Ever since they put me on reserve, that's what it is, isn't it? Listen, if you think... confounded robot, always in the way. I ought to...
If you're going to use foul language, you might at least keep your voice down. You know what sharp ears the children have.
Oh, so now I'm a corrupter of my own children. Well, let me tell you... What's that?
The hen-o-mat. I said it to synthesize fresh eggs. It's out of control. Oh, Gilbert, there goes the ketchup again. Do something.
You are listening to the Category Inventor. Tonight's attraction on X-1. Each year, increasing thousands of Americans stricken with multiple sclerosis turn to the Inventor.
Finally, I got the ketchup and orange juice faucets turned off and the hen-o-mat pulled out of the socket. I looked down, and there was our household robot on the floor. It was all its fault, it and millions of its kind. Suddenly, all the frustration of the last few months focused on the robot, and I kicked it.
Well, now I've seen everything. A grown man actually kicking a poor, defenseless robot.
I was expecting the mechanic from Robot Center when the door buzzed. I opened it, but it wasn't the mechanic. It was my father-in-law.
Hello, son. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, hello. I wasn't expecting you. George is a politician. They haven't yet found a robot that can take that trade over. Right behind him was the mechanic from Robot Service. However, he wasn't the mechanic, he explained.
Actually, you see, I'm a robot therapist, specializing in robot psychiatry and robot synaptic stimulation.
Well, what do you mean, therapist? I sent for a mechanic.
Now, you just leave it to me, sir. Where is the robot?
In the closet. I dumped it there after it broke down.
Oh, too bad, too bad. It would have been better if you'd left it where it fell. Failure attitudes often give invaluable pointers to the cause of breakdown. In here?
Yeah, that's right, in the kitchen closet. How do you like that? They got psychiatrists for robots.
Well, certainly, son, that's the way things are now. They're branching out, keeping one step ahead of the robots all the time. Man's got to be adaptable. Now, you take old Tom Angel. Old Tom up and registers himself as the first of a new generation of reading card verse writers. He was first in, so he got charter rights. Now, you got the idea? Once you get in the progressive mood, you're all set.
Yeah, funny kind of progress, dusting off a defunct custom.
Yeah, well, nowadays, a man doesn't have to fight for a job. All he has to do is to invent one. That's one of the platforms of our party, the party that stands up for the reservist rights. Why, you know, it was our party who saw to it that every family worker and reservist alike had a robot of his own by inalienable rights.
Oh, I'm sick and tired of having a robot of my own. I'd be perfectly happy if there weren't any robots at all, especially the ones that sit in their chromium-plated tails in chromium-plated orchestras playing chromium-plated bassoons.
What? Well, Gilbert, you don't know what you're saying. You're talking like a Luddite.
Oh, I am I? What's a Luddite?
It's history. They were the people who broke up the first power machines 200 years ago. Well, if that's the way you
Hold it now, wait a minute, hold it.
Well, what is it? What's the matter now?
Pop, I've got it. Excuse me, I'm on my way.
Mr. Perry, I just gave your robot a tape audio in there, and the results were sad.
Yeah, well, look.
Sad.
Yeah, look, I'm busy. I'll talk to you later.
That robot has developed a severe guilt complex.
Guilt complex?
That's right. Oh, they're sensitive, you know. Once they get the idea their owners aren't happy, they brood about it. They make mistakes, and that makes them feel more guilty. You just have to keep these robots understanding that you're happy.
Well, finally, I got away from the robot psychiatrist. The category office was crowded with reservists hanging around with the slender hope of getting in a hot tip. I went into the first booth and spoke to the robot clerk.
Yes, sir. You wish to file a category. I have your name and other information now. Nature of category.
Neo-Luddite.
Repeat, please.
Neo-Luddite.
Definition?
The lawful opposition to the robot economy. Now, let's see a robot take over that job.
Classification of category.
Political.
Your application will take a short time to check. This machine sends a copy to the registry below. They carry a complete file of all categories.
Oh, is that it?
I'm sorry, sir, but your application has been rejected.
What?
The category office extends its sincere regrets and trusts this will not deter you from making further application at the category office.
Now, you listen here, you metallic mouthpiece. That application is legitimate. Now, nobody's got any right to reject it. Now, you can't just stand here.
Sir, you are overexcited. The supervisor is on his way.
Ah, Mr. Perry, you're upset, eh? Well, you understand we dislike having to turn down anyone's application.
Now, listen. That category I put forward is perfectly good. I've got a right to be heard. An opposition party is just what's needed.
Well, of course it is, Mr. Perry. I was only trying to tell you that you couldn't register that category because it was registered years ago.
What?
Yes, the Humans Only movement is a recognized party, even though it's never managed to win an election or attract many adherents. But the movement does have state backing, funds, officers, the same proportion of salary to officials, members, the same as the two big parties. Better luck next time, Mr. Perry.
There is only one thing to do. Start all over again with some of the lines. Study and study until I could do it as well as I could play the bassoon. But what line? And how could I be sure that it wouldn't be taken over by the robots? I was walking along the street, and then suddenly a soundy ad jumped up out of a hydrant at me, and I popped it and listened.
Are you on reserve? Are you tired of being unemployed? Don't fret. Contact the C.P. Jones Bureau, Category Inventors, Room 53, Universe Building.
Just as I got to the Universe Building, the doors swung open and two big bruisers came through carrying a little old man.
You let me go, you hear? Let me go! I'll have a writ served on you. A man's got his rights. Now you let me go. Let me go. Oh, are you all right? I'll have a writ served on him.
Are you hurt?
No.
Oh. Well, I wonder if you can help me. This is the Universe Building, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Would you mind dusting off my jacket?
Yes. Right. Well, I'm looking for somebody here. I wonder if you could help me.
Robbers. Throwing a man out after all these years. 10 years I've worked in this building.
Oh, you work here. Well, then perhaps you could help me find...
Yes, I had my own office. The C.B. Jones Bureau.
You're C.P. Jones, the Category Inventor?
You heard of me?
I was coming to see if you could fix me up.
Oh, well, it's just as well you didn't. I didn't have a category in stock. As a matter of fact, son, I never did manage to invent a single category, except the one of Category Inventor. Well, they finally caught up with me, revised my category a week ago, and canceled my license. Say, would you like to have a drink?
No, I don't have any money, only reserve script.
Well, that's good enough for an emergency. Come on. You see, it didn't cost him anything. My fee was only payable out of salary if and when I delivered. Once a year, the accounting office sent over a robot auditor to check the books. Oh, I had 2 or 3 sets of books, but they finally caught up with me, and now I've got to invent another job. I used to be a trapeze artist in the circus. I was the oldest trapeze man in the game, but I got too shaky. Have another drink.
Yeah, well, it's my turn to buy.
All right, but say, after we finish this round, let's move to a real bar.
About the 4th bar, we got playing a parlor game, inventing make-believe categories, you know. You go from the inane to the obscene and back again. And we got thrown out of one bar, and then we started on beer, and, well, that made us sad, and C.P. Jones began to recite poetry.
How am I to face the odds of man's bedevilment in God's? I, a stranger and afraid, in a world I never made. Say, did I ever show you a one-handed nip-up from the chandelier? I used to be an acrobat, you know. Alley...
I woke up with the sun in my eyes, and I saw a figure moving. Is that you, Marge?
If you want breakfast, you'll have to go out. They haven't delivered the new robot yet.
Oh.
Do you want all this trash?
What trash?
These papers in your pockets and a note.
What does it say?
Oh, I'm not surprised you can't read this morning. I'm surprised you're breathing this morning.
No, please, Marge.
All right. It says, umbrological parallax tracer. What's that?
Umbrological parallax tracer. Umbrological, That's That's it.
What's it?
That's it. Give me my pants. I've got something to attend to.
Well, I'm glad to see you, Mr. Perry. Trying again, eh? Category, umbrological, parallax, tracer. Well, most interesting. What exactly is this?
Well, it involves ascertaining the degrees of parallax for the current umbrological investigation. It's not easy to explain in a few words.
Of course. I thought it would probably be too complex for me to grasp. I'll check it through. Frankly, I don't understand half the details of the categories that we... Well, let's see now. Oh, dear.
What's the matter?
The West Town office has already admitted an application this morning for an umbrological parallax correlator.
Uh-huh.
Now, you'll have to prove that the two functions are distinct and separate.
Umbrological parallax That wouldn't have been a Mr. C.P. Jones, would it?
Why, yes. You know each other?
Well, yes, we should have met this morning and filed our categories together. But a parallax tracer is entirely different from a parallax correlator. You see, a parallax can be correlated in a dialectical opposition in a conjunction to and with it being traced. Now, to put it more simply...
Well, that's perfectly all right. I'll see that the distinction is made. Well, your charter will be mailed to you within a few days. I suppose you want to share offices with Mr. Jones?
Why, yes, sir. Yes, I suppose so.
Very well, then. I'll have the offices assigned. Congratulations, Mr. Perry. You're off reserve.
Well, how do you like the new office, Gilbert, my boy?
Oh, figure you almost cleared the pitch for me by filing.
Well, I didn't have your address, and I didn't know you'd get the same idea. I just remember we laughed a lot over it and thought it one of the best phony categories we'd made up. Of the printable ones.
Yes.
Anyway, I did change the end to give you a loophole.
Oh, of course, we're cheating, aren't we?
Cheating? Well, I'm not. I've already looked up umbrology for a start.
There isn't any such word.
Well, if there was, it would be a science of shadows. Oh. Now, all we have to do is find the parallaxes.
But you're not serious.
Serious? Of course I'm serious. The world's so complicated these days, everyone's such a specialist that no one can be sure yet what's fact and what isn't. We're the only umbrologists in the world. Who can question us?
Yes, I suppose that's true.
Why, the scope's enormous.
Anyway, we're off reserve. We've got a job.
And I'm not letting any grass grow under my feet here. Now, don't just stand there. Our robot hasn't arrived yet. Give me a hand with this filing cabinet. We're going to need it.
You're right. We got our work cut out for us. Let me tell you, the life of an umbrological parallax tracer isn't all beer and skittles. Let's get to work.
Fred Collins again, and I'll have a word for you about tonight's X-1 in a moment.
On your weekends, at home or in your car, or at the beach, or wherever you are, take a radio along and let Monitor take you along to wherever exciting and interesting and entertaining things are happening anywhere in the world. And sometimes under it, like this.
This is Bob Haynes speaking to you from the central control room aboard the U.S. submarine Sea Lion on this UDT exercise called the Bottom Lockout. We're about ready to dive. That sound you just heard was the decompression. The top bridge hatch is closed. We're all secured now.
Dive.
There we go.
Yes, from a ride in a Navy submarine to anywhere in the world where exciting and interesting and entertaining things are happening, Monitor takes you there, making your weekends brighter with celebrities, music, news, and sports. This is Frank Blair inviting you to join us on Monitor on most of these NBC stations.
You have just heard X-1 presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features Daniel F. Galloway's unusual story titled If Money. Read it in Galaxy Magazine on your newsstand today. Tonight, X-1 has brought you The Category Inventor, a story from the pages of Galaxy written by Arthur Sellings and adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in our cast were Nelson Olmsted as Gilbert, Hetty Galen as Marge, Wendell Holmes as George, Joseph Bell as the serviceman, Alan Bergman as the supervisor, Bert Cowlin as Kurt, and Edwin Cooper as Mr. Jones. This is Fred Collins speaking. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
There's excitement in the air at night, and Nightline brings it to you. Hear Nightline with Walter O'Keefe, next on most of these NBC stations.
Down in the inner prison cells of the magic island of Euclidia, the little Gregory party is beginning to realize that their escape from the island will not be as easy as it was the first time. Their lives are apparently in no immediate danger, though the Euclideans have many ways of making life unpleasant for their prisoners. And one of these methods is now being tried on Captain Tex Bradford. When the captain went into the steel corridor to answer a knock at the door, Joan felt that something was wrong, as the Euclideans do not knock on prisoners' doors. Her fears were well-founded, for Tex was slow in returning, failed to answer their calls, and then a Euclidean ray gun was heard. We find Mrs. Gregory, Jerry, and Joan standing over the unconscious captain as he lies in a crumpled heap on the floor of the corridor.
Oh, Tex, what have they done to you?
One of those ray guns. I could hear it plain as day.
We know that, Jerry. The important question is, what type of ray gun?
You know something of these guns and their actions, Joan. What would you say?
The reaction is the same to all types of ray guns. There is no way to determine how long the captain will remain asleep.
Asleep? Are you sure that's all he is?
Joan, are you positive Tex is only asleep?
To be sure, Mother. Surely you must know something of the action of the human body, even in a world so woefully lacking in scientific understanding as yours. And the beat of a pulse must be the same, whether it beats in California or on Euclidia.
Oh, pretty wise, aren't you, Joan? Well, maybe we should have noticed that ourselves.
Of course we should have, Jerry. But I'm so nervous I'm not thinking clearly.
Well, gee whiz. How long do those big guns keep you asleep?
The larger ones will incapacitate the average human for the space of an earthly revolution.
24 hours?
As time is computed in your world, yes, Mother.
Well, I wish you'd get it into your head that we're figuring things our way. And when you mean 24 hours, say 24 hours. Don't wander off taking the sun for a stroll around the earth to let us know how long you mean.
If your understanding persists in wallowing in the depths of such ridiculous child's play, I will confine my remarks to the more simple combinations of phraseology.
Yes, do that. And stick to what we're talking about.
Joan, dear, is there nothing we can do to make the captain more comfortable?
But he is not uncomfortable, Mother.
Well, it seems rather awful to me. But if you say he isn't suffering any discomfort, we may as well carry him to the bed in his cell and let him rest easily until this wears off.
Okay, Mrs. Gregory. You take his feet, and Joan and I will take his head.
We will find him very heavy.
Tex isn't a small man to begin with. And now that he's in a sound sleep, why, I can't even move his legs.
I'll bet you can't. I'm not having any luck just trying to raise one of his arms.
We will not be able to move the captain for some time.
What's the matter, Joan?
Magnetic paint.
Magnetic paint? Where?
On the captain's hands and face and clothing.
Oh, I know that. But where did it come from?
Yes, Joan, dear. How did that magnetic paint get on Tex? We've been right with him, or at least one of us has, every minute since we came in here.
Yeah. How do you answer that one?
Was not the captain alone when he came out here to answer a knock on the door?
Yes, he was, but that was only for a minute.
60 seconds encompass a definitely valuable element of time to the active mind.
Well, maybe I'm a little slow upstairs, but I still don't see how Tex got himself all covered with the static enamel and laid out here on the floor, all in 1 minute, and without even opening that door.
Opening the door? I wonder.
You are thinking very clearly now, Mother.
Well, how do you figure anything so clearly thought out in that?
Mother was mentally questioning the opening of the door.
Yes, Joan, I was. That door opens in, toward us. And from the position in which Tex is lying, I should say that he could not have opened the door. We would have heard it close again.
Golly whiskers, you're right.
I believe Mother is correct. That door was not opened.
Then where did that paint come from? Yeah, and how did they shoot him with that ray gun?
The paint would be very simple. As you have observed, this transparent steel is fabricated with countless small holes. The paint might well have been sprayed through one or more of those holes.
Why, so it might.
It might, but I'll bet it wasn't.
Jerry, you do not know what you are saying.
Let Jerry advance his theory if he has one, Joan, dear.
Thanks, Mrs. Gregory. Well, I didn't exactly mean that the paint didn't come through one of those holes. I meant that I didn't think it was sprayed there by anybody.
But how else? Oh, you mean the paint was injected through the steel by some automatic device when the door opened?
That's my idea.
And you are more than possibly correct, Jerry. Though if you are, We are in a more dangerous position than I could have believed.
Well, come on, give us the bad news.
I believe that Captain Bradford was sprayed with magnetic paint and that the ray gun was fired when he touched that door to open it, and that no human hands had a part in it.
Then that is the Euclidean method of guaranteeing our safe confinement here. But why should they bother to do that with guards roaming their corridors? We couldn't go far enough to do their mad island any damage.
They don't take any chances here. Maybe they wanted to take a little nap and wanted to make sure we'd all stay here while they slept.
Hardly anything so elementary as that, Jerry, though you made a step in the proper direction with your reasoning.
Well, go ahead, Joan. What's your idea?
It is more than an idea. I think the reason we are now being guarded entirely by scientific devices is necessitated by the absence of all human agencies.
Absence? From where?
I believe we are now the only human beings on Euclidia.
What? Joan, dear.
I mean just that, Mother. I believe we are alone on the island.
But these 250 Euclideans, or whatever they have in this crazy place, where did they all go at once?
I'm sure it isn't obvious to me, Joan. We're prisoners here, perhaps the most utterly helpless, hopeless prisoners in the world today. We can't harm them, and G47 knows that. Why should they escape from us?
Not from us, but from some outside danger threatening the island.
You mean somebody might be attacking the scientists right now?
I mean someone might be attacking this island, believing the scientists were here, yes.
But, Joan, what you're suggesting, we may be here, all alone, somewhere in the depths of this fantastic island, and at this moment the island is being threatened with destruction.
It is possible, Mother.
But, gee, Mrs. Gregory, here's Captain Bradford lying on the floor, sound asleep and magnetized there. We can't move him, and we couldn't get out of here if we did.
Joan, surely you must be mistaken.
Why do you say that, Mother?
How often have you told us that Euclidia, this magic island, as Jerry named it, was impregnable, and that it was impossible for any nation in the world to destroy Euclidia with the weapons we now have? What about that?
Yeah, answer that one, Cleostra, and let us in on the secret.
I do not wish to be called Cleostra.
Okay, Joan then. But let's have the answer.
We of Euclidia are the greatest scientific organization in the world, in the universe. And we have the utmost faith in our ability to cope with and overcome anything developed in the crude laboratories of your world.
Huh.
Nevertheless, our very perfection in science has taught us that the only true science in your world is mathematics. And your eccentric methods might lead to an accidental discovery of something unheard of in a colony where everything is perfection.
That seems slightly ambiguous to me, dear.
No, Mrs. Gregory. I know just what Joan means. She's afraid somebody in our world might stumble onto the answer just because he was a dumb amateur. And these guys here wouldn't be ready for it because it wasn't figured out like a smart scientist would do it.
Then our position appears to be that of having no choice but to hope that nothing serious happens to this island.
That is my view of the predicament.
You sure take a sour look at it.
And there's nothing we can do about it?
Nothing, Mother. When we heard the tapping sound which Captain Bradford interpreted as a knock at this door, it was merely the automatic electrical devices actuated from the central control chamber, taking over their positions as mechanical guardians of our chambers.
Then there wasn't anybody at the door at all?
No one.
Is there any way of being sure that the island is deserted except for ourselves?
If the automatic controls are active, there is no Euclidean on the island.
And to find out if these things are still working, we've got to open that door and get shot with a ray gun?
No, that would be very silly, Jerry.
It is the only way. The island is no longer moving. That would seem to indicate that it was impossible to change the location of the island quickly enough to escape the impending attack, and that the scientists have retreated to observe the action from the ocean floor city.
From the what?
The ocean floor city.
Joan, these Euclideans have other quarters?
To be sure.
Under the ocean floor?
Yes. It requires but a few hundred seconds for everyone on Euclidia to seek refuge in the walled city below the ocean floor. And the principal control and chemical systems are taken also. Entire rooms are submerged as units. 600 seconds is the time required, I believe.
Oh, boy. 10 minutes to take everything valuable from this island into an underground town?
I'm forced to believe that, Joan, after all the other things we've seen around here. But I'd just as soon not learn any more of the power of these men. It only makes our position worse.
Our present position is not particularly enviable indeed.
And then some. We're in plenty deep.
We are on the 9th level of the island.
That wasn't what I meant, but it'll do.
I'm going to try opening that door.
I wouldn't.
No, Mother.
I'm going to open that door. I can't stand helplessly still and let all these things around us go on merrily on their way.
Well, the only difference will be that if you open that door, you'll be asleep. And you wouldn't know anything about all these things that are going to keep right on merrily on their way just the same.
You will accomplish nothing, Mother. And as Jerry has said, we will be deprived of your conversation and advice.
Conversation that doesn't accomplish any more than ours has done isn't very profitable. And I haven't a single word of advice to offer. More than that, I have a small idea. And the only way to put it into use is to open that door.
Very well. Stand back, Jerry, so that we will not be put to sleep if Mother insists on doing this foolish thing.
Okay, Joan. Go to it, Mrs. Gregory. Gee.
Peculiar.
Well?
Was that your idea, Mrs. Gregory? Did you have it figured out?
Well, I wasn't any too sure, Jerry. But the thought occurred to me that there was at least a possibility the ray gun could only act once.
Of course. How stupid of you not to think of that, Jerry.
Huh? Me? What about you?
I was more at fault.
Never mind worrying about who thought of it. We have the door open and nothing has happened to us. Now, what is the next move?
Well, it's a cinch we can't all go out of here and leave Tex there on the floor alone. So how about Joan and I taking a quick look around some of these passageways before any of those Euclideans get back?
I'm not sure, Jerry.
I think it advisable, Mother. You remain with the captain, and Jerry and I will attempt to learn more of our position here.
Very well, then. Oh, but you will be careful, dear, won't you?
Hey, look out!
Oh, close the door!
What is it?
Full of water.
Oh.
Help me slam this door, quick!
Oh, it's too late, Jerry. It's too late.
The magic island of Euclidia is an unusual, fascinating, and weird place. But what is more important to Mrs. Gregory and her party right now is the fact that the magic island is also a very dangerous place. Safely locked in their cells 90 feet below the surface of the island, the Gregory party is planning escape when a knock is heard at the steel door outside their chambers. Captain Bradford goes to open the door, and a ray gun puts him to sleep for a good long time. When Patricia opens the same door a few minutes later, believing that the automatic ray gun would be good for only one shot, another steel partition at the end of the corridor gives way, and a great wall of water is rushing at them as Jerry, Joan, and Pat try to close the door.
It's too late, Jerry. It's too late.
No, it isn't. Shove on this door.
Push hard, Mother.
Oh, I'm doing my best.
All together now. Push! It's nearly shut. Come on. Push! Push.
Yes, we are. We're doing it.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Jerry, we did it.
Oh, you're very strong, Jerry.
Oh, sure I am. But that was plenty close. That water must have been coming down that hole 5 feet deep.
Oh, yes, Jerry. It was all of that. Looked as high as my head.
Well, we got it stopped anyway.
The wall of water had not reached this door in the full force of its intensity, however. What appeared at some distance as a wall of water 5 feet high was in reality no more than 18 inches in depth at this door.
Oh, all right, Joan. Go ahead and make it look as if we haven't done anything.
No, Jerry. I'm sure Joan didn't mean it that way.
Okay, forget it. Hey, look at Tex.
He is in the water.
Oh, he'll drown. We must get him up at once.
Oh, we can try. Come on, give me a hand. But that magnetism.
Oh, I can raise his head above the water.
Then the pull of magnetism is gone.
Yeah. Say, that means those Euclideans are on the island again. Come on, let's get Tex up on a bed. Then you and I can make a dash out and see what's going on.
Tex is breathing evenly. He didn't get any of the water.
No, Mother. His face was just above the water line. I was watching that.
Oh, no wonder you weren't pushing on that door.
Please, you do it. Help me get Tex up.
Okay,
Yes, Mother.
here we go.
All right.
Oh, he sure is heavy.
Jerry, how many times must I tell you that you should say surely is heavy and not sure is?
There you are, Mrs. Gregory. I'm wading around in water over my ankles, carrying the heavy end of a 200-pound man, and she takes time out to give me a grammar lesson.
Sorry, look, Jerry, but you stand it well.
I can take it all right. Now, let's ease him down over here.
Oh, this will do nicely. Oh, dear. Tex is heavy, isn't he?
His normal weight would be greatly increased by the total relaxation induced as a logical effect of the ray.
Yeah, and he weighs more, too.
That is precisely what I said, Jerry.
It was not. You said...
Oh, Jerry. No more now, please.
I'm sorry.
You were always saying you were sorry, but you never make any attempt to improve your habitual method of procedure.
What's the matter with my habitual method
Oh,
of
Jerry, please.
Oh, sorry. What's the use? Come on, Joan. We're not doing any good here. And Tex will be all right as long as he sleeps like that. Let's sneak out for a quick look around before any of those Euclideans get a chance to come down here and see how we're living under the water.
But the water, Jerry. We will not be able to open the door now.
You will have to postpone your look around.
I don't think so. That water was shut off just as quickly as it started to flood.
Why would you think that?
You didn't hear a sound of it after we got the door shut, did you?
Well, no, that's true.
But these chambers are soundproof. You would not hear the water even if it still rushed at maximum velocity.
Maybe and maybe not. I'm going to have a look.
If you must be silly, I will accompany you, Jerry.
Oh, will you two please be very careful?
Oh, Jerry, the water.
Yeah, it ain't.
Not ain't, Jerry.
No water either. Look on this floor.
Why, the water is gone. What a marvelous place this island is.
Come on, Joan.
Yes.
How long will you be gone?
Oh, not long, Mother.
Now, you be very careful, won't you, Jerry?
We'll keep our eyes open.
And take no chances.
We will proceed with caution and deliberation.
Yeah, and we'll be careful, too.
Jerry Hall, why must you pretend to misunderstand me every time I use a word of more than one syllable?
Because you try to show off by sticking a lot of big words in where one syllables would get it said better and quicker. Now we'll open this door.
One moment, Jerry. Before you open the door, listen to be sure the water is gone from the corridor.
I thought you said these doors were soundproof.
Oh, that was silly of me, was it not?
It was, plenty. You're slipping, Joan.
Continued association with you has done much to
wait a minute. Association with me won't do you any harm. Now remember that you're used to being one of these smart Euclideans for a minute, and tell me what to do before I open this door.
It is never safe to guess on Euclidia.
Oh, nothing is safe here. But this door can't do any more than spill a lot of water in on us. Here goes.
Nothing. No water. Nothing in the corridor.
Well, don't look so sorry about that. Come on, Joan. Hey, listen to our steps and our voices. We're in one of those echo chambers again.
Yes, Jerry. And with all the electrical devices functioning as usual, we may consider it an established fact that the scientists have returned to the island.
Then this thing gets worse. We may have to worry about some outsider blowing up this island without knowing we're here. And all the time keep right on worrying about what sort of tricks G47 is going to pull.
G47 will spare no effort to secure Captain Bradford's formula. But, Jerry, will Mother think it right for us to leave her with the captain?
Your mother would have been about ready to kick us out of there if we hadn't gone when we did.
Why, Jerry?
Well, maybe you haven't seen enough of your mother and Tex to notice it. After all, you've only known your mother for the little while we've been on this island. But if you could have seen them on the deck of the yacht when we were coming down here on those moonlit nights, oh, boy.
I am not at all sure I understand what you mean.
No, you wouldn't. These Euclideans may know a whole lot more than I do about chemistry and electricity and all that. But they can use a little common sense.
The possession of common sense would enrich you also, Jerry Hall?
Golly whiskers, the girl submarine commander again.
It is indeed S1.
Is your position so enviable that you have time to stand with a gaping mouth and blinking eyes, Hall?
No matter whether I've got time or not, I can't help feeling nervous every time one of you Euclideans jump through a steel wall at me without making any noise.
The commander did not come through a wall, Jerry. She merely stepped around the corner of this hallway.
You have not lost all sense of proportion, Cleostra, even though your wits are of necessity dulled by contact with young Hall?
Never mind about sharpening up my wits. Tell us how we're going to get out of the hole we're in now.
My mission is to guide you to a chamber even more strong and isolated than the one you have been occupying in comparative comfort.
We are to be placed in solitary confinement?
Precisely.
Hey, quit pushing me around, Commander. What's the idea?
You may learn a great deal more by keeping silent than will ever be revealed to you in response to your baying.
Baying, huh? Oh, all right. I'll go where you want me to. Only stop pushing.
Is it permissible to inquire as to our ultimate disposition?
It is not. You will enter this door.
What a small room.
Golly whiskers, Commander. This thing isn't a big enough cell to keep anybody in.
You will observe that the speaking voice is normal in tone,
There is no communication possible to this chamber.
Oh, and you wanted to get us in here quick and talk to us before G47 discovered where we are?
Precisely. Report on your position, condition, and what has transpired.
Captain Bradford and Mrs. Gregory, my mother, are in water control cells on this level. Captain asleep with ray effects. Have been flooded but now drained. Have no plans. Captain will offer formula as last resort for our safety.
Very good. You will act as I instruct you?
Precisely.
Yeah, that's it. And maybe that's a good word to use around here. We'll do what you tell us, precisely.
Remarkable, if authentic, this attitude on your part, Hall.
Oh, I'm all right. Now who's losing the time?
Correct. I will proceed. This much I know of G47's plans for you. Your lives are in no danger for the moment. Euclideans will devote all possible time to relocating Island. Your numerous radio messages have attracted attention of Coast and Geodetic Survey. They cannot harm us, but with instruments at their command might well determine many points concerning Euclidia.
The island was moved as I thought then.
Movement was slight. Surface disturbance too great. G47 now conferring with scientists.
Have you definite estimate as to probable time before we will be the object of G47's attention?
You should be comparatively certain of privacy for 3 rotations.
Huh? 3 which?
Rotations, Jerry, of the Earth.
Oh, 3 days, huh?
No. Days are periods of daylight on Euclidia. The complete cycle throughout any period from a given second one day to the comparable second the following or preceding day is a rotation.
Oh, okay. 24 hours then, huh?
As time is roughly figured in your world, yes.
Never mind the cracks about my world. What do we do, Commander?
That you must plan for yourselves. I have given you 3 rotations of assured privacy. Must I do your thinking for you as well?
We will evolve a plan.
Yeah, we might even get an idea. Say, where's the other 2 members of Mrs. Gregory's crew? McLeod, the Scotch engineer, and the old Yep and Nope skipper.
They are safely under guard aboard your boat.
The boat is in the submerged lock?
Precisely.
Oh, and where are those little homing pigeons?
G47 has them in his private laboratory for personal study.
Gee, sure looks like we'll have to do all this ourselves, Joan.
I will be on my way. Do not speak as I leave.
Golly whiskers, that girl sure comes and goes fast.
The commander risked her life to bring that message to us.
I know it. Boy, she's a swell girl. And is she good looking?
If her beauty is so attractive to you, Jerry...
Oh, forget that stuff, Joan. You don't have to worry about her. Gosh, she's 22 years old. But even if she is pretty old, she's all right.
Do you prefer the commander to me?
Huh?
Jerry, I like you very much.
Oh, okay, I like you too. But this is no time to tell you about that kind of stuff. We've got to get back to your mother and Captain Bradford. Will they be tickled when they hear we'll have about 3 days to figure our way out of this place? 3 days? Golly whiskers. I'll bet Tex can figure how to be halfway to New York in that time.
If he wakes up.
If he wakes up?
Yes, Jerry. The captain may sleep longer than we had thought.
Yeah, he might. Hey, you're sure a help.
Exploring tomorrow. And now, here is your guide to these adventures of the mind, John Campbell.
The term genius is fairly common in our language today. I wonder how many of you realize that the term originated with the old Arabian Nights concept of the genie. You know, the magical creature that came in a bottle and had such wonderful powers. The story is about a whole planet of geniuses. Genie. Interesting people to try to enslave, you know. Laboratory scientists have as much fun as anybody else, you know. One of the laboratory laws, sometimes called Finagle's Law or Murphy's Law, goes, in any laboratory experiment, if something can go wrong, it will. Well, this is the story of a planet-sized laboratory experiment in which something could go wrong.
Professor Heim to His Excellency Marshal Gorham. The ship is now in orbit about the planet of destination.
Good. Have a lifeboat prepared for descent with an invisibility screen.
Yes, Your Excellency. How many crewmen will you want to take along?
None. There'll be just myself and you, Professor Heim.
Sir, you, the Marshal, landing on a barbarian world without even an escort? I'm begging your pardon, sir, but...
Do you mean that the Grand Marshal of the Galactic Imperial Armed Forces can't carry out an undercover inspection on a backward planet without a dozen Marines clanking in his wake?
No, sir. No, sir.
And please remember that the people down there have no weapon more powerful than a bow and arrow, whereas I will be carrying a nuclear blaster under my coat.
Yes, sir. Of course, Your Excellency.
And while we are down there on that planet, Professor Heim, stand by for possible action. We may have to bombard the place with cobalt missiles, wipe all the life off it.
Sterilize the entire planet, sir?
You heard me, Professor. I said we may have to, not that we will. It depends on what I find down there. That peaceful, primitive world may turn out to be just another stupid scientific experiment. Or it may turn out to be the worst danger the Empire and all its stars have faced for 1,000 years. Now, I want you, Professor. I'm in my office at once. Over.
Yes, Your Excellency. Over and out.
Oh, there you are, Professor Heim.
Yes, Marshal Gorham, here I am.
We've arrived at your experimental planet.
I know. I was just watching it float there among the constellations. I don't know a more beautiful sight in the universe.
Well, break out the native costumes for us, too. We're going down.
At once?
I am a military man, Professor, not one of your psychologists. Now, so far, your people have spent 1,500 years studying that planet. But as for me, there's war on the Imperial borders, and I can spare 3 days.
3 days to decide?
To decide whether we can let your experiment go on or whether to discontinue it, shall I say?
But only 3 days. Marshal, you don't realize it would take a week just to explain the statistics of...
I know, I've heard it all. 1,500 years ago, the Psychological Research Foundation decided to learn what makes human history tick by running controlled experiments. So it took a lot of uninhabited planets and put different kinds of people on them.
Well, their memories wiped out, Marshal. The first generation started out knowing as little as animals. They had to discover everything for themselves. Fire, language, the wheel. Do you imagine that their descendants could have learned enough to menace us? To threaten an empire that for 3,000 years has controlled millions of planetary systems?
We've been through all this before, I've told you again and again, I'm not worried about your other experimental worlds. They're still cavemen or less. But this planet here, pure genius stock. A planet where nobody has an IQ below 150. And God knows how high they go. Well, I just can't tell about them. And His Majesty is worried, too. There have been rumors. He sent me here himself to decide whether or not those rumors could be true.
But the people down there don't even know the Galactic Empire exists. Why, the men there are still farming with plows and sailing in steamships.
Sure. What of it? Ordinary men on Earth with an average IQ of 100 needed maybe 500,000 years to get as far as your geniuses have in 1,500. I understand they've already developed Newtonian physics, chemical batteries, telescopes, world government. At that rate, they'll be visiting the other planets of this system in 50 years. They'll reach the stars in a century, and then they'll be loose in the Galactic Empire. Do you think they'd fit tamely into the caste system, like good subjects of the Emperor? Why, they couldn't even if they tried. They'd produce a new invention and a new philosopher every day. And that would mean the end of stability, and that, Professor, would mean the end of the Empire.
So you say, but you're a soldier. You don't understand.
Yes, I know. I'm a dirty militarist who can't see past the end of my own guns. All I'm good for is killing, huh? And you're a noble intellectual scientist. Yeah. I've heard that guff before, Professor, and I've gotten pretty tired of it.
But I tell you, the genius people are cooperative in that.
My orders are to inspect the place and decide for myself whether they're right or not. So that's what I'm going to do. Come along, Hein.
Exploring Tomorrow continues in just a moment. When driving, luck can stay with you for years. But on the road, it can leave you in a split second, a tragic split second. So drive carefully. You will live longer, and you will arrive alive.
There's been considerable discussion of what constitutes good and evil over the last few millenniums. But You know, there's an interesting comment someone made. I don't know where it did originate. Melodrama is the conflict between good and evil. And tragedy is the conflict between good and good. When two good men, each with a good point to make, get into conflict, that's where real tragedy starts.
All right, Professor. I've got the lifeboat into the atmosphere and leveled off. So where do I head now? Iron. Wake up, you wool-headed dreamer.
I'm sorry, Marshal. I was thinking, looking out the porthole and thinking.
What about?
How lovely the sky is. So blue. And the land below, mountains and forests and hopeful young farms.
Oh, no, a poet yet. Well, I'm thinking about my job of inspection. Where shall we go?
Fly northeast for 700 kilometers and you'll find this planet's largest city. It's also the capital of the world government.
That'll do. I should be able to observe a pretty good cross-section of the genius race.
Do you seriously believe you can decide the fate of an entire world on the basis of what you see in one city? How do you expect to learn anything, even there? You don't speak any of the local languages, not even the international one they developed.
You'll talk for both of us. We'll claim to be visitors from a long ways off, the opposite hemisphere. We'll just wander around town for a couple of days, and I'll get the feel of the place.
You mean you decide whether these people live or die just on the basis of a hunch?
Now, here we are. Landed in an empty meadow. You sure nobody will happen by?
Well, what do we do? The lifeboat is invisible.
Even so. Well, we don't want the genius people learning the truth, do we, Professor?
No, of course not. On that, you and I do agree. Well, my own motive is that I don't want to spoil the experiment.
Come on, let's get moving. We'll have to hike into the city. That's nice outdoors. Sunshine. I don't know when I last breathed air that didn't come out of a tank.
And you turn all this into black radioactive ash.
Come on, I said, let's start walking. There's a road. It's pretty well paved.
Oh, yes. 10 years ago, this was a livestock trail. Today, they're driving steam automobiles over it. I predict that 10 years from now, the first airplane will use this for a landing strip.
But where's the mass market to support all that progress?
There isn't much of one. Actually, most people here are still riding around in buggies. You see, they have a unique social system. The average man on this planet would rather buy a new book than a new gadget. But at the same time, their engineers keep on making inventions because a mind of such power can't help being creative.
And I tell you, the Empire can't afford what you call creativeness. So this is their biggest city.
Right. There are about 1 million people in it.
You call that a city?
Considering the small population of this world, yes.
It's backward, all right. Carts pulled by animals. Water pumped by windmills. Bearded men in clothes of vegetable fiber. Wood and plaster houses. Gas lamps.
That's what I keep telling you, Marshal. These people aren't demons. They're as human as you and I. They're born the same way as us. Grow up, learn, love, laugh, weep, and die like human beings anywhere in all space and time. They simply happen to be more intelligent. Let them live.
70 generations ago, they were savages. They didn't even know how to chip a flint. And now they've come to this.
Yes. Our observers mingling with them in disguise have already learned more about historical dynamics than...
Oh, sure, this city is still primitive. But in another 100 years, they have schools, laboratories. They don't frown on artists and scientists and philosophers. They glorify them. So, in 100 years, they'll be out among the stars. And we don't dare allow that.
But they won't, Marshal. Not necessarily. If only you'd let me show you the economic data. For instance, the great uninhabited spaces they still have right on their home planet.
Shut up, I'm thinking.
Thinking? I don't think you're able to.
What did you say?
Nothing.
I have a knife, Grand Marshal Gorham. You don't know that, do you? You think I'm just another ineffectual little dreamer, don't you? Well, you may find out different.
If by militarist we mean someone who believes that it is necessary to use physical force to carry out, to implement a theory, a belief, then it looks to me like Professor Heim has become a militarist. He intends to use force, doesn't he?
Kanal tu solar. Hör
Saban Hostet.
What did he say, that bellhop or whatever he was?
He wished us good night in the international language. He thinks we're foreigners, you remember?
Ha! If he only knew how foreign.
That's a cheap way to feel superior, isn't it?
Oh, shut up, Heim. I'm still trying to decide what to do about this planet. There are too many paradoxes. The waiter in the restaurant wanted to ask you about the ethnology of the country he thought we came from. This is a nice, clean hotel room, but it doesn't have running water. And yet the clerk downstairs was reading what I swear must have been a mathematical journal.
Does that make them monsters? Under the social system here, such routine jobs are done by students. And, of course, every person on this planet goes through at least 5 years of college. But that's all it amounts to, Gorham.
A whole world of long-haired dreamers who are experimenting with aircraft and rockets, who developed the theory of evolution before they learned how to smelt iron. I don't trust them.
Of course, you don't understand them. You're too... I mean...
Too stupid? Isn't that what you're going to say, Professor? I'm just a dumb militarist who worked his way from private soldier to Grand Marshal of the Galactic Empire. No fine sciences, just a hired hand keeping the barbarian raiders off your scientific back. Well, Professor Heim, I happen to be the man who will decide what's to become of this planet of geniuses.
And have you decided yet, Your Excellency?
Not yet. I can still take a couple of days to...
2 more days? After the Foundation work for 1,500 years?
Wait. What are you doing?
This is a knife in my hand, Marshal Gorham. Don't move. If you reach for that blaster, I'll kill you.
You gone crazy, Heim?
No. You're the crazy one. You're the lunatic who would blot out man's last best hope, this planet. You allow yourself 3 days to decide the whole future of the world. Now unbuckle that blaster. Don't let your hand come near the trigger. Out. Drop it on the floor. Kick it over to me. So. Now I've got you where I want you.
But, Professor, I haven't decided anything yet. I might decide this experiment is safe. I might still report to the Emperor. There's nothing to be afraid of. He can forget your race.
You might, but I know you won't. I'm going to kill you, Marshal Gorham. I'm going to report to the spaceship captain that you died accidentally, and then I'm going to hope that the next Imperial Inspector will be more reasonable.
Look out! Stand back, you fool! Don't!
I only stabbed you in the arm that time, Marshal Gorham, but you're in a corner now. I'll get you this time.
Clo, very down.
Go along, or I don't go along, you right?
Ustanik, Sholti, Clo. Clo!
You spoke their language. You already know the language of this planet.
Aye.
The attendant has the key, of course. He's coming in. Drop that knife, Professor Heim. He's a husky chap.
Shalom.
Yai. Take la odore. Drop that knife, I said, Professor.
Yes, of course.
Sit down, Heim. You look more shocked than I am. Gavla no ma, Todan. He's gone after the first aid kit for me. Not that you hurt me seriously.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter.
And you're a native of this planet yourself.
Yes. I was born here, though I've lived most of my life out in the Empire.
We thought we were keeping a planet full of geniuses and ignorance. How long have you known?
We began to suspect the truth 500 years ago. And we discovered that all life had evolved from lower forms, but couldn't find a subhuman ancestor for man. And finally, your disguised observers were identified. We even used blind man techniques to spot those wearing invisibility screens. Did you really expect you could go on fooling a race with twice your brain power?
Well, we thought so. Yes, I suppose it was foolish.
Some of us wormed our way into space as stowaways or in disguise, that sort of thing. People here live quietly, so as not to give the show away. We don't tell our children the truth till they're old enough to keep up the pretense. But meanwhile, for the past 300 years, our agents have been out in the Empire learning everything you know, posing as citizens working up into the key positions of your government. We can do that by sheer merit.
Yes, obviously you can become imperial marshals.
Quite. And when the Emperor got suspicious, he sent me, his trusted soldier, a notorious anti-intellectual, to check up for him. Naturally, I was going to give this planet a clean bill of health, but I had to string you along first to make it look good. Evidently, I put on a better act than I had planned.
And now that I know your secret?
I'll have to report that you were accidentally killed here, Professor. But don't worry. All you have to do is spend the rest of your life here as one of us. I don't think you'll mind that.
Oh, no, not personally. I'd enjoy it. I used to envy the people on this world. But when your race, when you've completely taken over the Galactic Empire from within, what do you plan to do?
Well, we'll remodel it, shall I say. I'm afraid you wouldn't understand exactly what we intend to do. It's a little beyond your grasp, but it will be for the benefit of the ordinary galactic citizen, too. The poor, backward, benighted galactic empire.
They say that the first requirement for teaching a dog to do tricks is that you have to know more than the dog. If you want to teach a planet full of geniuses to do tricks for you, first make sure you know more than the geniuses. You can enslave some kinds of entities, but you can't enslave, you can't impose on entities who are more intelligent, more thoughtful, more wise than you yourself. What will happen is they'll turn out to be helping you in disguise.
Join us for a fascinating adventure in Exploring Tomorrow. Heard in our cast tonight were Ron Dawson and Al Ruscio. Script was by Powell Anderson, produced and directed by Sanford Marshall here in New York. Guy Wallace speaking.
Kellogg's Pep, the super delicious cereal, presents The Adventures of Superman. Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman, who is today making every effort to locate Jimmy Olsen, little realizing that he has fallen into the hands of the ruthless enemies of the Boy King. We'll learn more about it in a moment. But right now, Dan McCullough wants to have a word with you. Go ahead, Dan.
Say, gang, wouldn't you like to have your own private communication system that you could set up between your own room and your brother's or your sister's room and hold private conversations any time of the day or night? Why, of course you would. And, gang, now's your chance to get one. For a short time only, the Kellogg Company, makers of that super delicious cereal, Kellogg's Pep, are offering you a wonderful cardboard model walkie-talkie that really works. This exciting model walkie-talkie is patterned after the one our fighting men use in action, and the things you can do with it are really amazing. Now, this Kellogg model walkie-talkie comes all ready to put together with full instructions printed on the mailing envelope. With it, you get 2 aerial sticks, a tuning-in dial, and a receiver transmitter, along with 48 feet of communication line. Think of that, gang. This means that once your Kellogg walkie-talkie is properly set up, you can give the receiver transmitter to a pal and both of you can talk and listen from 48 feet away. That's quite a distance, gang. That's as far as from one room to another, or almost clear across the schoolyard. Now, here's how you get your Kellogg's model walkie-talkie. Send 2 PEP box tops and 10 cents in cash, along with your name and address clearly printed, to Superman, Box 80, Battle Creek, Michigan. That's 2 PEP box tops and 10 cents in cash, along with your name and address clearly printed, to Superman, Box 80, Battle Creek, Michigan. Now, you probably have one open package of PEP at home, so ask your mother to get you another so that you can send in the 2 box tops with your dime right away. But hurry, gang, this offer is good for only a short time.
And now, the adventures of Superman. On the trail of what he thought might be an ordinary newspaper story, Jimmy Olsen found himself involved in a vast international plot to force the boy king of Morania to sign away his right to the throne. Yesterday, as you remember, Count Monarch, leader of the faction sympathetic to the Nazis, the faction attempting to gain control of Morania because of its valuable oil fields, had abducted Jimmy and the boy king in the hope of forcing the young ruler to sign papers of abdication. But on Jimmy's advice, he refused. As we join them now, Count Monarch, furious at Jimmy's interference, screamed,
I have heard enough of this stupid talk. Pablo!
Yeah, Count Monarch.
Take him out of here and get rid of him. Permanently.
It will be a pleasure.
That's what you think. Keep away, muttonhead, or I'll bust you one on the snoot.
Well, what are you waiting for, Pablo? Get him out of here.
Yeah, come.
Let go of me. Let go of me. Let go.
Lift him off his feet. Carry him to the door.
Put me down, you big ox. Put me down.
Wait, I'll sign the paper.
Pablo, put him down. Quick. Here is the pen, Your Majesty.
Hold it, Chuck. Don't be a dope. Don't sign it.
But if I don't, he'll kill you.
Never mind about me. These guys are crooks. They're crooks and Nazi lovers.
Silence, you young fool.
Nuts to you.
Pablo!
Wait, Count Monarch.
What is it?
I'll sign the paper if you'll give me 5 more minutes with my friend so that I can talk to him.
I have already given you time enough.
Just 5 more minutes, please.
Very well. But this is your last chance. Come, Pablo. We'll be waiting outside the door.
What'd you do that for, Chuck?
Jim, please, you gotta listen to me. You gotta understand about all this.
I understand. I understand plenty. These rats are trying to take over your country so they can give it to the Nazis.
But, Jim, it isn't my country, really. This is my country, the United States.
What are you talking about? You're king of Morania, aren't you?
Well, that's what they all say, but
Either you are or you aren't. And if you are, then you got no right to turn it over to a gang of crooks.
But they'll kill you if I don't.
Oh, that's a lot of hogwash. They're not killing me so fast. Now, Chuck, set me straight on something. Who's the guy that found you and wants to take you back to Morania? The guy you were going into Metropolis to meet.
The ambassador, Dr. Traeger.
Oh, is he a good guy?
Oh, yeah, sure. The reason he wants me to go back to Morania is because he wants to make a republic out of it, just like here. He said if I did that, then I could come back if I wanted to.
Oh, I get it now. This guy Manic doesn't want a republic. He wants to put someone else in as king, right?
Yeah, my cousin, Dr. Traeger said. He's a friend of Hitler's.
And you want to sign that paper? And let your cousin turn the country over to the Nazis?
What else can I do, Jim?
We gotta get out of here. Gotta get to Metropolis somehow. You can't sign that paper, Chuck. Because if you do, you'll be sabotaging the Allies.
But if I don't, they'll
If you say they'll kill me once more, you're gonna get crowned. Not like a king.
All I'm trying to do, Jim, is protect you.
Well, stop protecting me. I can take care of myself. Now, look. Gotta figure something out. Gotta use our heads. There's only 2 of them. Monica and that mush-mouth Pavlov. 2 of us, too. 2 against 2's not so bad.
But they're bigger than we are. And maybe they even have guns.
Well, that's why I say we gotta use our heads. You remember what Abraham Lincoln or Horace Greeley or one of those smart guys said? The pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah, but in this case...
Hey, wait a minute. The pen. The fountain pen.
What fountain pen?
The one Nana handed you when he wanted you to sign that paper.
What about it?
I got it, Chuck. I got it all figured out. We're going to show them that the pen is mightier than the sword.
I don't understand, Jim.
Oh, you just listen and I'll explain everything. We got to hurry. The time's almost up.
Okay, sure.
Oh, here's the setup. When Nana comes back, tell him you decided to sign the paper.
But if I
Listen to me and don't interrupt. Haven't much time. When he hands you the fountain pen, make like you're going to sign your name. But instead, flip up the little lever. You know, the lever on the side of the pen that you used to fill it. And squirt the ink right in his face.
Gosh.
The minute you do that, I'll make a dive for Pavlov. I'll hit him with a flying tackle and knock him down. In the meantime, you head for the door while Manic is still floundering around with the ink all over his ugly puss. And I'll follow you.
But where'll we go?
Golly. Well, this is a warehouse. There must be a door or something that leads to the street. Do you remember how we came in?
No, it was so dark I couldn't see.
Oh, never mind. We'll find a way out. Now, Chuck, have you got everything straight?
Yeah. I hope it works.
Golly, it's gotta work, Chuck. It's our only chance.
I'm shaking like a leaf.
Take it easy. Now, don't let on we got something cooked up.
I'll try not to.
You all set?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Call Manic in.
Drawing a deep breath, the frightened youngster who has suddenly become the key figure of an international plot to turn over a precious supply of oil to the crumbling Nazi empire prepares to follow out Jimmy's hastily conceived plan. Meanwhile, not many miles away in Perry White's private office at the Daily Planet, Clark Kent and Lois Lane are conversing softly as the gray-haired editor talks over the phone.
Yes, that's right. The train was due in at Metropolis at 4:50. Believe me, I'm
blaming myself, Clark, for letting Jimmy go into that private car alone.
Yes, I'll wait. Take your
Ridiculous,
time.
Lois. You couldn't possibly
We
imagine
want to be sure to
anything
get
like
this
this
right,
was
you
going
know.
to happen.
It really is fantastic. With most of the civilized world fighting for democracy, someone finds a boy king living in the heart of democracy's birthplace.
Fine. Okay.
Yes?
Kent, take this down.
Okay, right, Chief.
The private car was engaged by Dr. Nicholas Tregor.
Spell it, Chief.
Can you spell that last name, please? Tregor.
Yeah, I got it.
Well, do you know where he can be reached? Oh, the Moranian consulate, huh? Yeah, I see. He's the ambassador. Uh-huh. Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Wilkins. I won't forget this. Goodbye, sir.
Oh, that's it, huh? The private car was engaged by Dr. Nicholas Tregor, the Moranian ambassador, and he can be reached at the consulate. Is that right?
Right. Now what?
Call the consulate.
At this hour of the morning? What time is it?
Let's see. 10 minutes to 6.
Now, what difference does the time make? This may be a matter of life or death. Give me that phone.
Now, Lois, don't go off the handle.
The chief's right, Lois.
Sure, the chief's right, and you're right, and everyone else is right.
No,
but in the
it's-
meantime, Jimmy may be dying somewhere.
Wait a minute. I'll tell you what I'll do. Instead of calling, I'll go over to the consulate. It's just a few blocks from here on Tremont Avenue.
That's fine. I'll go with you.
Now, wait a minute. Nobody's leaving this office.
Now, wait a minute.
I may need you.
Then I'm going to call the consulate.
Lois!
Let her call, Chief. She's right. It may be a matter of life and death.
Clark Kent doesn't know how close to the truth he is. For even at this very moment, Jimmy and the boy king are about to make their desperate bid for escape. We'll return in a moment to learn what happens. But first, let's hear from our good friend.
Say, gang, have you gotten your own Kellogg model walkie-talkie yet? Well, if you haven't, you better get busy right now. Here's what you do. Send 2 box tops from packages of Kellogg's Pep, along with the dime and your name and address clearly printed, to Superman, Box 80, Battle Creek, Michigan. If you hurry, gang, you'll be rushed a wonderful cardboard model of a walkie-talkie that really works. And believe me, you're in for plenty of fun and thrills. This Kellogg model walkie-talkie is nearly a foot high, done in regular Army color, and it comes with full instructions for assembling. With it, you get 2 aerial sticks, a tuning-in dial, and a receiver transmitter, along with 48 feet of communication line. And, gang, once you get your Kellogg walkie-talkie all set up, you can perform all kinds of amazing and impressive stunts. With somebody else operating the receiver transmitter, both of you can talk and listen almost clear across the schoolyard or down the block. Best of all, if you get your pals to send in for their Kellogg walkie-talkies, too, you can hook them all together and have a wonderful private communication system that covers twice or 3 times the distance. But you've got to act fast now, gang. Send the 2 Pep box tops and a dime, along with your name and address, clearly printed, to Superman, Box 80, Battle Creek, Michigan. And get your pals to do the same. Remember, this amazing offer is good for only a short time.
And now, back to the adventures of Superman. In the dimly lit office of a large warehouse adjoining the Metropolis waterfront, Jimmy Olsen and Chuck Barrett, the newly found boy king, are about to enact Jimmy's plan of escape. Count Nunnik and his bull-necked henchman Pavlov have just entered the office. The door closes behind them. Nunnik strides over to where Chuck is seated.
I assume Your Majesty you have made a decision.
Yes.
You will sign the document abdicating the throne of Morania in favor of your cousin, Prince Karl?
Yes.
It's a wise decision. Pavlov, bring over that small table.
Yeah.
Here is the document, and here is a fountain pen with which to sign. You will place your signature in the bottom line in the right-hand corner. Well, take the fountain pen.
Go ahead, Chuck. Take it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Now, sign your name.
Sign it, Chuck. Sign it in his face.
Pablo!
Oh, no, you don't, Pablo. Try this on your business. Run, Chuck. Head for the door.
Yeah.
Pablo!
Come on, Jim. Coming.
Come back here, you.
Which way now, Jim?
Gosh, I don't know. It's dark as pitch out here. We'll just have to take a chance. Come on, Chuck. Follow me.
Yeah.
Ow! Ow! Oh. What happened, Chuck?
I fell over a barrel.
Oh, golly. Come on, get up.
I can't, Jim. Oh, my leg. I think it's broken.
I'll carry you. Hold still.
No, Jim. That's dopey. You go for help.
And leave you here with those rats?
It's the best way, Jim. If they catch us both, we're finished. Go ahead, get help. Please, Jim.
Gee whiz. I don't know what to do.
Torn with indecision, Jimmy hesitates in the darkness of the warehouse loft. At any moment, Count Monik and Pavlov may come bursting out of the office. What shall he do? Stick with Chuck, or try to make his way out of the warehouse and get help? It isn't an easy decision to make on the spur of the moment, and a moment is all Jim has. Gang, there's 60 seconds of excitement in every minute of tomorrow's episode, so don't miss it. Tune in tomorrow and every day, Monday through Friday, and follow the adventures of Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Fellows and girls, be sure to follow the adventures of Superman, brought to you every day, Monday through Friday, same time, same station, by the makers of that super delicious cereal, Kellogg's Pep. Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC publications. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Kellogg's Pep, the super delicious cereal, presents the adventures of Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Yes, it's Superman, and today, as we continue our story of the boy king of Morania, it would seem that his enemies have triumphed. We'll get the details in a moment, but right now, here's Dan McCullough to tell you more about the nifty model of the walkie-talkie.
Say, gang, what would you say if I told you could whisper to a pal from the top of a 12-story building and be clearly heard? Well, you'd probably say I was kidding, but I'm not. No, sir. Just listen. If you've been smart enough to send in for a Kellogg model walkie-talkie, you can add enough communication line to it so that it operates over a distance of nearly 200 feet. And that's as far as from the top of a 12-story building to the ground. But, gang, before I tell you more about the wonderful things you can do with your Kellogg model walkie-talkie, I'd like to describe it for you. It's about a foot high, made of strong cardboard, done in regular Army color, and it comes with full instructions for assembling. With it, you get 2 aerial sticks, a tuning-in dial, and a receiver transmitter, along with 48 feet of communication line. Now, when you get your Kellogg model walkie-talkie properly set up, you can give the receiver transmitter to a pal, and the two of you can both talk and listen from a distance of 48 feet. That's quite a way, gang. It's almost clear across the schoolyard or down the block. Best of all, if you get your pals to send in for their Kellogg model walkie-talkies, too, you can hook them all up together and have a smart, modern communication system that works for hundreds of feet. So, gang, don't waste any more time. Send 2 box tops from packages of Kellogg's Pep, along with the dime and your name and address, clearly printed, to Superman, Box 80, Battle Creek, Michigan. That's 2 box tops and 10 cents in cash, along with your name and address, to Superman, Box 80, Battle Creek, Michigan. You'll be rushed your own Kellogg model walkie-talkie that really works.
And now, the adventures of Superman. Having forced Charles Barrett, the boy king of Morania, to sign away his throne, Count Moniak, the Moranian traitor, left the boy near death in a Metropolis warehouse. Jimmy Olsen, who had been with Charles, managed to escape and told what had happened. And while the young king was rushed to a hospital, city and government police agencies bent all efforts to apprehend Moniak. But the wily Nazi eluded them and made contact with a German submarine that night. As we continue now, the black swastika-marked U-boat is silently sliding like a great fish through the moonless, dark waters of the Atlantic. In the wheelroom, the gloating Count Moniak and the burly submarine commander are congratulating each other. Listen.
Now, with our friend Karl on Morania's throne, there will be plenty of oil for Nazi war machine. Eh, Count Moniak?
Plenty, Herr Captain. Enough to keep the Führer's armies in the Bavarian redoubt fighting for years and years. Until the American, British, and Russian swine despair of ever defeating us and are willing to make terms.
Excellent. Excellent. Lack of oil, as you know, was our only fear. Everything else, food, munitions, tanks, planes, all these are stored in abundance in the mountain around Berchtesgaden.
Yes. Now the Führer will have everything. Morania is rich in oil, Herr Captain. Since I have persuaded our stupid boy king to abdicate in favor of his cousin, all of Morania's oil will go to the Führer.
You will find him appreciative, Count Moniak. In his plans for the next World War and the new order to follow, he will surely give you a great place.
I am looking forward to that. There is but one thing that worries me.
And what is that, my friend?
A young newspaper reporter, Olsen by name, knows what transpired between me and the boy king in Metropolis. By this time, he must have already gone to the police and perhaps led them back to Charles.
And if Charles is dead, what does it matter?
I have told you, Olsen knows that I was forcing Charles to abdicate the throne in favor of his cousin. The police may eagerly guess that I succeeded, or Charles may have regained consciousness long enough to tell them. Knowing what that will mean to the course of the war, the American government will make every effort to prevent me from bringing the abdication papers to Morania.
And you fear they may be able to do that?
It is possible. When they are unable to find me in Metropolis, they may surmise that I escaped in a submarine. They will then send great numbers of ships and planes to seek this U-boat.
You need have no fears, my dear Count. I, too, know how important it is that you arrive safely in Morania. And so I have made arrangements to ensure your safe arrival.
What do you mean, Herr Captain?
I have perfected a plan which not even the combined navies and air forces of America and England can oppose. A truly magnificent plan.
Little pig eyes gleaming in his beefy face, the Nazi submarine commander reveals to Count Moniak his plan for escaping American sub-patrols. Meanwhile, in Perry White's office in the Daily Planet, the gray-haired editor paces the floor anxiously, while, seated in a chair, nervously clasping and unclasping his hands, is Dr. Tregor, the elderly, dignified ambassador of Morania.
I don't know why we haven't heard from Inspector Henderson yet. He's had all day and evening to find that quisling Count Moniak. Why doesn't he call up and say he's got him?
I fear his efforts will be in vain, Mr. White.
Oh, nonsense, Dr. Tregor. What makes you say that?
Because, Mr. White, Count Moniak is a very clever man. He is a master of cleverness and guile.
What do you think our police and FBI are? Dopes?
No, of course not.
Well, they're not. And take it from me, they're... Oh, maybe that's Inspector Henderson now. Perry White speaking. Oh, it's only you, Olsen. Well, what do you want? No, they didn't find Moniak yet. Do you think I'd be waiting in my office at this hour of the night if they did? Now, if that's all you called up about, what? What's that? Oh, well, that's something anyway. It's fine. No, I don't want you to come back here. I've got enough on my mind without you getting in my hair, too. What hair? Now, you look here, you insolent young pipsqueak. I've got more hair than most men of my age. Oh, sorry, Dr. Traeger. That was Olsen. He's at the hospital with young Chuck Barrett. I mean your young king.
Oh, yes. Did he give you news of His Majesty's condition?
You bet, and good news, too. The doctor says he's going to recover.
Oh, that is wonderful. I'm so glad. But it comes too late. He has already abdicated his throne to his cousin Karl, the Nazi collaborator. Now Hitler will get all of Morania's great oil supply.
No, not if we catch that rat Manic, he won't.
Excuse me, Mr. White.
Well, what do you want, Beanie?
Well, excuse me, Mr. White, but I want to ask you a question. For Mr. Robertson, the only right man. He says he has to know the answer to this question.
No, he does, eh? Well, what do you think this is, the information desk?
No, sir, I mean the information desk is closed. It's after 11 o'clock. But Mr. Roberts says he can't send Miss Lane's story to the composing room until he checks up on this question.
Okay, what is it? What is it he wants to know? Are the Dodgers going to win the pennant?
Are you kidding? With the team they got this year, where the Giants will show...
Stop it, for the love of heaven, stop it! Now, what is it you want to know?
I don't want to know nothing. It's Mr. Roberts who wants to know. He says, even if Morania gets a Nazi king, like Miss Lane says in her story they might get now, well, how are they going to get their oil to Hitler when the Allies have just about got Germany surrounded, not to mention cut in half?
I can explain that.
What?
You see...
just a minute, Dr. Baker. Beanie, did Roberts or you happen to take a look at any one of the couple of dozen maps we have hung in the city room?
Gee, I don't know, Chief. I mean, Mr. White. You want I should ask him?
No, I don't want you should ask him. I want you should tell him to do it.
Sure, I mean, yes, sir. Only, I don't see how that answers his question, though.
No, you don't, eh? Well, you look at the map, too. Maybe you'll learn something, although I doubt it. You'll find that Morania is so situated that until the Allies make more gains, enough oil can be moved from Morania to Berchtesgaden to keep Hitler and his gang going for a long time, during which time anything might happen, including the loss of thousands of our boys. Now, does that make it any clearer?
Chief White. Gosh. Chiefers. It sure does, Chief.
I'll chief you. Now you get out of here. And tell Roberts I had those maps put up for reference, not for wall decorations.
Yes, sir. I'll tell him, Chief. I mean, Mr. White.
Now, wait a minute. Did Ken get back yet?
I ain't seen him.
Haven't seen him, you numbskull. Oh, where is he? Anytime I want him, he's not around, and anytime I don't want him, he's
what, Chief?
Words fail me.
Well, it's about time.
Hiya, Mr. Kent.
Hello, Beanie.
Go on, Beanie, get out.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Kent.
Good evening, Dr. Tregor. I'm very glad to see you're still here.
Well, that's very, very nice. But we haven't heard from Inspector Henderson yet, Kent, and I suppose it's too much to hope that you found out anything.
I found out one thing, one very important thing.
You did, Mr. Kent?
Well, what's that?
Well, I called Henderson's office just before I came in, and he told me that his men are on the way here now.
What? Here? What for?
To pick up Dr. Tregor.
To pick me up?
Kent, are you serious?
Certainly am.
They're right in there, Lieutenant.
Hey. Good evening, gentlemen.
Oh, you see, here's Lieutenant Carney now. Good evening, Lieutenant. I think maybe we'd better let Lieutenant Carney explain.
Amazed, Harry White stares from the dignified, pale-faced Moranian ambassador to the alert police Lieutenant Carney, who strides into the office. What does this mean? We'll return in a moment to find out. But first, let's find out how all of us can be helpful to the less fortunate people of Europe.
Gang, you probably know that right now, all over this country, people are looking through attics and closets for used clothing to send to the bombed-out families in Europe. As a matter of fact, your own mother has probably gotten started on your family collection, seeing how many used coats and suits and other garments she can collect for those families who have none. Now, here's how every one of you can help out a great deal. You should make it your job to see that your own family's clothing contribution gets to your local collection station, neatly bundled up and ready to be turned over. In fact, you might form a team with the members of your gang and check every family in your neighborhood to make sure that they've made a clothing collection, and also that this contribution is taken down to the center. You see, this clothing won't do a bit of good to anybody if it's just collected and left at home. It's got to be taken down to the collection center. And, gang, that's a job for you. You probably already know where that center is in your town, or if you don't, your teacher or your parents can tell you. So get busy on this job, gang. It's not hard to do, and it's certainly mighty worthwhile.
And now, back to the adventures of Superman. While Metropolis and government police agencies carried on a feverish search for Count Moniak, Clark Kent brought word to the Daily Planet that the police were on their way to the planet to pick up Dr. Tregor, the Moranian ambassador. As we continue now, we find Kent, White, and Dr. Tregor in a police car with Lieutenant Carney. Listen.
Lieutenant Carney, I demand to know where you are taking me and why.
Yes, and this had better be good, Carney. After all, Dr. Tregor is the Moranian ambassador to our government.
I hope you know what you're doing, Lieutenant. This may embarrass Washington, you know.
Now, wait a minute. Take it easy, all of you. Dr. Tregor is being arrested. I am not.
Yes, and what
Of course not.
Well, then, may I inquire where you're taking him and us at this time of night, Lieutenant? Surely it isn't just for a breath of the sweet night air.
Not at all, Mr. White. We're going to the morgue.
The morgue?
You are taking me to the morgue. But why?
We're hoping you can identify a body, Dr. Traeger.
A body? Oh, no. Don't tell me.
Easy, Dr. Traeger. What body, Lieutenant?
That's what we're hoping Dr. Traeger can tell us, Ted. Here we are. Come on.
I'm so confused, so bewildered. All this I do not understand at all.
That's all right, neither do I. But we'll be straightened out soon enough. Of course, this body has something to do with the Count Manic business, Lieutenant?
Yep.
You mean you think it is Maniac's body?
I'm not saying anything yet. Come on in.
Hello, Lieutenant.
Hello, Mike. We want to see that body that was just brought in. You know the one.
Sure. Over here.
Well, this will tell the story.
What story, Lieutenant? That's what I want to know.
And I.
It'll tell us whether Count Manic's dirty scheme to sell out Morania to Hitler worked or failed. Okay, Mike. Let's hear.
Craning forward, barely holding their breaths, Clark Kent, Perry White, and Dr. Traeger watch the morgue attendant wheel a surgical table under a spotlight. Whose body will they see? And how will the discovery affect the Nazis' desperate last-ditch plot? We'll know tomorrow, so don't fail to listen then. Tune in, same time, same station, and follow The Adventures of Superman.
Faster than a speeding bullet. More powerful than a locomotive. Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman.
Fellows and girls, be sure to follow The Adventures of Superman. Brought to you every day, Monday through Friday, same time, same station, by the makers of that super delicious cereal, Kellogg's Pep. Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Superman DC publications. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Kellogg's Pep, the build-up wheat cereal, invites you to rocket into the future with Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. Stand by to raise ship. Blast off -5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0! As roaring rockets blast off to distant planets and far-flung stars, we take you to the age of the conquest of space with Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. The greatest space search in history is slowly drawing to an end. A manhunt that has seen the mighty Solar Guard fleet sweep space from the outer edges of Pluto to the twilight zone of Mercury in a search for two men who have in their possession every ounce of a priceless chemical explosive, N-72C. Two men, one a hardened criminal, the other a space cadet of the Polaris unit, Roger Manning. Now, one by one, the heavy rocket cruisers report in to Captain Strong at Space Academy.
Rocket cruiser Capella to Space Academy. Come in.
This is Strong at Space Academy. Go ahead with your report.
Completed patrol and search of 19 spacecraft in sectors 45, 46, 47, John K. Jupiter orbit. No sign of Cadet Roger Manning or Jonas Brady. No evidence of N-72C explosives. Running low of fuel. Request permission to proceed to nearest base for refuel.
Your orders are to proceed to Venusport and deactivate your ship.
Deactivate my ship? I don't understand.
Production of uranium pitchblende has been stopped as a result of the stolen N-72C. Present supply of reactant fuel has been restricted to emergencies only.
Emergency? Well, this is an emergency.
You have your orders. Proceed to Venusport and deactivate your ship. End transmission. That's the 35th ship I've had to cradle in the last 2 weeks. Everyone put away is one less chance of finding Roger, Brady, and the missing N72C.
Well, I still can't believe that Roger had anything to do with this.
Well, the evidence is pretty strong, Corbett. He's AWOL from the academy. He shipped aboard Brady's space freighter voluntarily, and Brady had the stolen explosives aboard.
I know, sir, but...
Then he refused to talk to me when we contacted the freighter. Now, we found Brady's ex-partner dead, and one shot had been fired from Roger's gun.
But that still doesn't prove Roger's guilt.
We'll give him every chance in the world to prove his innocence when we find him. Right now, the Solar Guard fleet is sinking to the size of a squadron for lack of fuel. In another 2 weeks, the only things we'll have left in space will be memories.
Well, Space Boy, how you doing?
Fine. Till you came in, Brady.
Still got that big mouth, huh, Manning? Maybe I should have closed it for you back on Jupiter.
Maybe you should have. What do you want with me, anyhow?
Well, now with poor old Peter's gone, I need help.
Don't give me that poor old Peters routine. You blasted him with a parallel ray and then left him in an open airlock without a spacesuit.
I did? You're wrong, kid. You blasted him. It was your gun Captain Strong found next to Peter's body.
So what? He wouldn't believe I did it.
Now, then why did he send out a space alert for both of us? Wanted for robbery and murder Jonas Brady and Roger Manning.
You're full of space gas.
Not a bit, kid. You're all tied up with me now. And we got 10 million credits worth of explosives to feed into the black market.
You won't get a blasted cent out of it. The Solar Guard will nail you the minute you stick your head out of this asteroid.
The Solar Guard is finished, Buster. They're running out of fuel and pulling their ships in. In another week, I'll be free to operate over the whole blasted universe.
We'll return to the exciting adventures of Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, in just a moment, so stand by.
Fellas and girls, how would you like to have a photograph cutout of Roger Manning, a swell picture you could hang up on your wall? Well then, hold on to your seatbelts, because I'm going to tell you where to get one. And besides Roger Manning's picture, you can get pictures of Astro, Tom Corbett, and Dr. Dale, too. These swell, true-to-life picture cutouts of your favorite space cadets are waiting for you right now on the back of packages of Kellogg's Pep. Wait till you see them. They're full-length pictures in exciting Space Academy uniforms. You want to get the whole set. Each picture makes a swell cutout. You can frame them, hang them on the wall, paste them on books. Everybody will have their favorite Space Cadet picture cutout, and you want yours too. So start your collection now. Just go to your grocery store and get a regular-sized package of Kellogg's Pep. Look on the back of the package. That's where you'll find your Space Cadet cutout. And remember, every time you buy a regular-sized package of Kellogg's Pep, you'll get another cutout right on the back of the package. Get ready to blast off for your package of Kellogg's Pep just as soon as you can. Remember, to get your swell Space Cadet cutout, be sure you ask for the Build-Up Wheat Cereal. Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P. Pep. 3 weeks have passed since the disappearance of Jonas Brady and the stolen explosive N72C. 3 weeks in which half of the vast fleet of the Solar Guard has been grounded for lack of fuel. Now, in Captain Strong's office at Space Academy, Tom Corbett suddenly rushes in with important information.
Look at this report, sir. Just came in from Titan. 3 spacecrafts have been working a small pitchblende deposit. And it shows in the past 2 weeks, production of pitchblende by these prospectors jumped from 50 tons a week to over 3,000. What? Now, the only way they could have jumped their production that much would be by using N72C explosives. And these same men bought several gallons of sulfuric acid. The only other way to ignite N72C without the special detonator.
Great Jupiter, this may be the break we've been waiting for.
Sure, now that the explosives are showing up, it should be easy to grab those prospectors and make them tell where they got it.
No, Corbett. Brady's made a mistake, and we've got to be sure he never finds out he's made it. Get your gear and stand by to blast off immediately. We're going to set a trap for a space rat. All right, Corbett. You ready?
Yes, sir. All set. skipper, you're out of uniform.
Yep, part of the plan, Tom.
Plan, sir?
Commander Arkwright and I decided the only way to catch a space rat is to become a space rat and go where the space rats go.
Oh, I get it. Act like we're a couple of prospectors wanting to use N72C for ourselves.
Exactly. So you and I are no longer Captain Strong and Tom Corbett of Space Academy, but simply Steve and Tom, space rats.
It's going to be tough, sir.
I know, Tom, and dangerous. But if we have to talk to every space rat from Luna City to Venusport, we'll find Brady and the N72C.
And Roger Mannix. By the rings of Saturn, this must be the worst dive in Venusport, Skipper.
Skipper? Steve.
Oh, yeah, Steve.
Yes, Tom, this is about as bad as they come. Space rats, criminals, spacemen have lost their papers for one thing or another. They all come to places like these. Come on, I'll get a bottle of Martian water while you grab a table.
Right.
Hiya, Buster. Mind if an old rocket jockey sits down?
Go ahead. Have a seat, spaceman.
Thank you. Oh, the old bones ain't what they used to be. Too much acceleration's what did it. Too much when I was a youngster and ready to ride anything that could blast off. Say, you just looking for pleasure or something special?
Here you are, Tommy. Here's the... Oh, who's your friend?
Old spaceman, Steve. What did you say your name was?
I didn't say, but it's Shinny. Nicholas Shinny. Rocketman, third class. 20 years as an enlisted man in the Solar Guard.
Oh, how are you, Shinny? Glad to know you.
Mr. Shinny to you. I'm old enough to be father to both of you.
Okay, Mr. Shinny. My name's Steve.
I'm Tom.
Glad to meet you, boys.
Well, how about a drink?
Now, that's something I ain't turned down in 20 years.
Well, here you are, Mr. Shinny.
Thank you, thank you. Spaceman's luck. Now then, what brings you two fellers down to this part of Venusport, eh? Got a strike lined up?
Well, yes. We have a pitch blende strike lined up all right. Picked out in the asteroid belt. But we can't get the stuff out of the ground.
Oh, deposit runs too deep from the surface, eh?
Right. We've been trying to get some atomic explosives to blast it out of there.
I can tell you ain't space ratted very long. Why, spaceman, atomic explosives would blast your little asteroid back to proton.
Well, what else is there? TBT or dynamite wouldn't reach it.
What you need is some N72C.
N72C. Oh, that's a real bright suggestion.
Yeah, go buy some at the Corner Credit Exchange.
It might be easier than that.
Hey, look, Mr. Shinny, don't tell me you know where you can get some N72C.
Maybe not. If you figure on using it, your pitch blende strike's got to be big, because N72C will cost you plenty.
How much?
50,000 credits a box.
Is that all? Listen, Mr. Shinny, we got a strike lined up that'll make the Pluto mines look like a hole in the ground.
That's so. Well, now, maybe we can do business. But, I get 1/3 of whatever you dig out.
1/3? That might be as much as 5 million credits.
You heard me. 1/3.
Listen, you broken down space bum. You try to hold us up for 1/3 and you won't get anything. I'll give you 1/5. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it.
Have you got the explosive nearby?
No, I can find out where to get it, but you can't. Meet me at the spaceport tomorrow night, around this time. In the meantime, I have to do a little scouting around. Right connections, you know. Say, about 10,000 credits.
I'll give you 5.
I'll take it.
And believe me, Mr. Shinny, if you're not at the spaceport tomorrow night, you'd better not be in Venusport at all, because I'll boot you from here to the asteroid belt. Remember that.
There you are. I've been dragging this blasted old spacesuit around for an hour looking for you.
A metal spacesuit? Why, Jupiter, that must weigh a ton, Mr. Shinny.
So what? I don't trust them new fandangled plastic suits, Buster. Ain't safe.
Listen, have you got the N72C?
Have you got the credits?
Yes, of course.
Then I got the N72C. Leastways, I know where to get it. Where's your space wagon?
Right over there. That's Freighter.
All right, Buster. Let's blast off. We've got an appointment in 2 days with some N72C on planetoid 16 in orbit, fourth moon of Jupiter.
Well, we're here, Captain Strong. Take a look through the viewport. What a desolate place.
Perfect spot for a meeting like this.
But where's the explosive? I can't see a thing out there.
Shinny told me the man who has it will meet us here.
Well, did he tell you his name?
No, but I'm sure it'll be Brady.
Skipper, look. The jet boat's coming in.
Uh-huh, the boat from the Jenny Alden.
Well, that's Brady's ship.
Come on, let's get to the airlock and put on our spacesuits. We'll go out and meet him.
You think Brady will recognize us?
I don't think he'll remember you. And I think this beard I've been growing, plus my space helmet, will do the trick for me.
Oh, giving Shinny that sleeping pill and his rocket juice was a good idea.
Just a precaution, Tom. All right, put on your helmet.
All set, Skipper.
Okay, let's go. And remember, if Brady does recognize us...
I know, sir. It'll probably be the last chance we'll get to find the N72C or Roger. There's the jet boat, Steve, but I don't see anyone around.
Probably inside. Come on in. Let's take a look.
Which one of you guys is going to do the talking?
I didn't see you come up behind us.
That was just the idea. Now stand still while I take your power ray gun. There. Now start talking. It better be good talk.
What do you mean, talk? You know why I'm here. I've got a pitch-blende strike line up in the asteroid belt, and I need N72C to blast this stuff out.
How do you know I've got any N723?
Why,
I can't breathe. Oxygen line. I can't.
You're not getting oxygen. Help me to get under the table, quick.
What is that?
Give me a hand, blast you. I can't carry him myself. He's not getting oxygen.
Okay, but watch it. I still got you covered with this barrel ray.
Wait a minute now. Now, let me get his helmet off. There. You okay, Tom?
Yeah. Thanks. Intake valve must have jammed. It'll only take me a second to fix it.
Like I'm in a hurry. You want that N723C or not?
Yes, I'll take 5 pounds. You got that much?
I got that and plenty more. That'll be 500,000 credits.
500,000? I was told it would be 50,000 credits.
The price has gone up. 500,000. Then I deliver the stuff to you here.
Why can't I pick it up? What if you don't come back?
If you want it, you'll take the chance.
Well, I have to speak to my partner. Half the credits are his.
Okay, but make it quick.
Tom, have you got it set up?
Yeah, all ready to work.
Good. Then put on your helmet and let's go. And by the way, nice acting.
Thanks.
All right, Brady, I'll take it. But only 3 pounds of N72C, that's all I can afford.
Where's your money?
Right here. 300,000 credits.
Hey, you guys must really have a big vein to start off with a stake like this. Most space rats don't make this much in a lifetime.
It's to be delivered in 4 hours, Brady. And if you don't come back, we'll come looking for you.
I'll be back. Besides, if the solar god can't find me, how can you?
Hey, wait a minute. How about our parallel ray guns?
They go with me, and don't try to follow me. Now get out.
Okay. There he goes, Tom. Straight back to the N72C.
Yeah, leaving a trail behind him as big as a comet with a radar beacon signal I attached to his jet boat.
We'll give him a half-hour start and then blast off after him. With any kind of luck, we'll find the N72C and Roger.
Yeah, if he's still alive.
You see, Manny, your pals thought they were pulling a fast one. They expect me to come back with the N72C. Only I'm not going back. Now I got enough credits to live like a prince without touching the N72C anymore.
Don't kid yourself, Brady. They've got a line on you now. They'll find you here, and you'll wind up peddling your explosive on the prison asteroid.
You must think I'm pretty dumb, kid.
You're no brain.
That's just where you're wrong. Sure, maybe strong in that pile of yours will track me down, but it'll take him time. Time enough for me to set a little trap for him.
Trap? You talk big, Brady. It'll never work.
Ah, yes, it will, Junior. Because there's going to be some very inviting bait in my trap. And the bait's going to be you.
We'll return to the exciting adventures of Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, in just a moment, so stand by. Blast off power. That's what you get in Kellogg's Pep. Get blast off power. Start your day with hearty Kellogg's Pep. Pep gives you the kind of hard-hitting food energy you need to rock it off into a busy day. It's the cereal the cadets at Space Academy call for when there's action ahead. And Pep supplies you with essential vitamins, too. You get vitamin B1 and a whole day's supply of vitamin D in every serving. No wonder spacemen head for the breakfast table and pour out a big helping of Pep every morning. It's Kellogg's Pep for blast-off power. And say, just wait till you taste that keen whole wheat and malt flavor. You'll be reaching for second helpings every time. Kellogg's Pep with milk and sugar is the perfect way to start the day. When you fill up a bowlful and dig in, you want to travel at full space speed right through to the last bite. After all, Roger, Tom, and all the cadets say the same thing. For swell eating and blast-off food power, it's Kellogg's Pep. So start your day the spaceman's way. Ask Mom to get the cereal that gives you more builder-upper food values than any other wheat flake. Ask Mom to get Kellogg's Pep. P-E-P. Pep. Hoping to trap Jonas Brady and learn where he has hidden the stolen explosive N72C, Captain Strong and Tom have trailed into one of the secondary moons of Jupiter. But now, as they cautiously make their way across the desolate terrain toward Brady's jet boat, they are unaware that they have been led into a trap.
We're getting close to the jet boat, Tom. Easy around those rocks now. Try not to make any noise.
Right.
Keep low. As soon as you spot the jet boat...
Great Jupiter.
You see it?
No, it's Roger. Look, sir. Standing up on that rock.
What in blazes? Well, he's looking right at it, but he isn't moving.
He was hit with a parallel ray. Come on, sir. He's got a spacesuit on. Maybe he's all right.
I hope so. Stand back now. I'll hit him with my neutralizer.
Don't bother, Strong.
What?
It's Brady.
Drop that ray gun. Go on. You too, kid.
Why, you...
No, Tom. Do as he says.
Real smart of you, Captain. But now I'm going to frost you and leave you here just like I did Peters without a spacesuit. So long, Captain Strong. Hey, what flavor?
Skipper, it's Shinny in his old suit.
Stay back, you old space bum. Stay back.
Like time I will, Buster.
All right, take it.
Keep trying.
Why, you...
Skipper's ray doesn't work, not through metal.
Time for us to take over, Tom.
Right.
No. Stay back, all of you. See that?
Skipper, he has a chunk of N72C.
That's right. One more step, now throw it.
Don't be a fool. You'll blast yourself.
What have I got to lose now? You got your choice. Let me go with all this space junk. You got like till 10 to make up your mind. 1, 2,
Last that space Corey, you ain't letting him get away with it, are you?
I'm afraid we have no choice, Shinny.
Yes, we do, Skipper.
Come back here.
Stay back, kid.
Go ahead, throw it, Brady. Let's see if you have the nerve.
I'm warning you.
Oh, look out. He's throwing the stuff. We'll all be killed.
Just 2 minutes with Brady alone, Skipper, please.
For the last time, Manning, no.
Oh, I never get a break.
You're getting one now, Manning, by being allowed back in the academy.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Sorry, Skipper.
Well, I figure we all got a break. Coming out of this alive? Well, if that stuff hadn't been a dud.
Oh, it wasn't a dud, Mr. Shinny. The N72C is plenty potent.
Then how in the name of Pluto?
It can't be exploded by ordinary concussion, Shinny. It needs a special detonator, or sulfuric acid. I forgot about that for a moment.
Well, smoke my tubes while they go next.
And while we're passing around the bouquet, that was real smart of you to come charging up in that old metal spacesuit of yours, Mr. Shinny.
Just goes to show you, Sometimes the old things are better than newfangled contraptions.
Why did you do it, Kenny? I thought you were working with Brady.
I knew you two were from the Solar Guard the minute you walked into that dive in Venusport.
What?
Yep. And when I found out what you wanted, I figured you could help me get what I wanted.
Well, what did you want?
A solar medal. I was buried in the rocket decks of the Solar Guard for 20 years. They didn't even know I was alive. But I'm going to get me a solar medal this time if I have to tear Space Academy apart.
What a spaceman.
Don't miss the next action-packed adventure with Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, on Tuesday, when the crew of the Polaris rockets into danger in The Mystery of the Sparkling Meteor. Tune in, same time, same station on Tuesday for the next thrilling interplanetary adventure with Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. Brought to you by Kellogg's Pep, the Build-Up Wheat Cereal. Tom Corbett, Space Cadet, starring Frankie Thomas, can also be seen on television and appears in the comic sections of many of America's leading newspapers. Look for it daily and in weekend editions. Featured in today's cast were Jan Merlin, Edward Bryce, Ian Martin, and Gilbert Mack. Today's program was written by Richard Jessup, directed by Drex Hines. Jackson Beck speaking.
Kellogg's Raisin Bran has a secret. Kellogg's Raisin Bran has a secret.
And what a secret! In Kellogg's Raisin Bran, the tasty raisins are dipped in honeycomb. That means plumper, more tender raisins, along with delicious Golden Crisp Bran Flakes. Both fruit and cereal all in one box. And no other raisin brand but Kellogg's gives you the tender goodness of raisins dipped in honeycomb. That's Kellogg's.
Trapped in the dank darkness of a ruined plantation house, and somewhere in the pitch-black room is a homicidal maniac armed with a knife, groping for you, trying to prevent your escape.
Escape, produced by William N. Robeson, directed tonight by Richard Sanville, and carefully plotted to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Tonight we escape to a deserted sandpit off the coast of Georgia, where terror stalks under the Spanish moss, as Joseph Hergesheimer tells it in Wild Oranges.
What could have appeared more innocent of danger than that barren, low-lying shore of southern Georgia? What could have seemed less laden with terror than that lovely little cove, so tranquil and well-sheltered, so warmly bathed in late afternoon sun as we dropped the anchor of our ketch and prepared our mooring? And yet there was something. First it was an odor of a grove of wild orange trees in late bloom, growing defiantly amid the tangled undergrowth of the shore. The scent was strong and exotic and heady, and as I smelled it, I felt a vague uneasiness. Then as I watched the shore and Halvard, sole member of my crew, furled the sails, the mirror of the cove was shattered by a movement. First I thought it was a fish leaping and playing in the water. Came round a spit of land from an inner bay, and then Halvard was beside me.
That's queer, sir.
Huh?
I would have bet there was nobody within miles of here. But there's someone swimming.
Huh? Yes. It's a girl.
Aye. She'll be surprised when she discovers us, no doubt.
And embarrassed. Oh, she swims well, doesn't she? As if she's been born in the water.
Yeah, does she's seen us.
Yes. Now she's running away. That sprint would win an Olympic race. Wonder what she's doing here, where she comes from.
Perhaps there.
Where?
Through the trees. There's a house. You can hardly see it. I spotted it a moment ago.
Oh, yeah, so there is. Oh, but it's a ruin. It's rotting away. No one could have lived in that since the Civil War.
Well, there may be others back there.
Yes, but this coast is deserted. Marked as swamp on the chart.
Well, I don't know, sir.
It's strange. Very strange. Yes, it was strange. And stranger still was this vague uneasiness I felt. As twilight fell, the aroma of the wild oranges was overpowering. Suddenly, without knowing why, I slipped on a jacket, went to the side and dropped into the tender. Halvard stood by to cast off. He asked no questions, and I said nothing. What could I say? I didn't know myself why I was going. I pulled the tender up on the soft sand of the beach and walked up a dim path through the orange grove. The scent of the blossoms was full of such wild sweetness that I picked an orange and tasted it. It was bitter, but of a pungence that was new and rare and strangely delicious. The dim moonlight only accentuated the ruin of the house. There were other smaller, ramshackle buildings scattered about, overgrown with weeds and creeping vines. This had once been a great plantation. Now it lay still and lifeless. Then I saw the light. Round the side where a smaller portico held off the weeds, a single doorway was framed in the pale light of an inner lamp. As I approached, I saw a shadow move across it, so swiftly, so furtively, that it was gone before I realized it had been a man. Then I saw her, sitting on the portico, rocking softly in her chair.
What do you want?
Nothing. When I came ashore, I thought no one was living here.
You're from the white boat that sailed in at sunset?
Yes, and I'm returning immediately.
It was like magic. Suddenly, without a sound, you were anchored in the bay.
I've robbed you, too. Some of your oranges are in my pocket.
You won't like them. They've run wild. We can't sell them.
They have a distinct flavor of their own. I should be glad to have some on my boat.
All you want?
My man will get them and pay you.
Please, don't. Oh, Nicholas attends to that. Won't you sit down? My father was here when you came up, but he went in. Strangers troubled him.
Well, I should be getting back. I'm sorry to have disturbed you and your father.
No, it was nothing.
Good night, then.
Good night.
That was all. A fragment of commonplace conversation, but it was enough. Now the uneasiness I felt, the strangeness of this place took shape for me. I saw it in her lovely, fragile face. I heard it in her voice. There'd been a hidden terror, a terrible, controlled fright that approached hysteria. There'd been a warning in it, and something else, a plea. By the time I got back to the boat, I was completely unnerved, and Halvard made matters worse.
You find anything, sir?
There are people living there.
Well, there'll be water then. Maybe we could stay here a couple of days, huh?
What do you mean?
Well, this is good anchorage, sir. I'd like to unship the propeller, and the topside could do with a coat of varnish.
No, we're going on south.
Aye, sir.
No, wait, Halvard. Of course, you're right. We need a couple of days' work before we head into blue water. We'll do it here. And so we stayed. In the light of morning, the strange dread I felt seemed foolish, and especially when I went ashore and found the girl looking young and fresh and fragile, fishing off the little pier in the inner bay. She had a pathetic little rod and line, so I got our tackle from the boat and landed a big rockfish for her, enough for several dinners. We were carrying the fish to the house when we came on a pale, thin ghost of a man sitting on the portico. He started a swift retreat, but too late.
Father, wait. This is my father, Litchfield Stoop.
How do you do, sir?
Millie, you all know I can't. Strangers, they...
Father, you must manage yourself better. You know I wouldn't bring anyone to the house who would hurt us. And see, we're fetching you a splendid rockfish.
Oh, yes. So you are. We are all alone here, sir. The man is away, my daughter and I. The fish, yes, acceptable.
If you will carry it in for me. Nicholas would do it, but he's away. And the father isn't strong. This way. We have no ice. I must put it in water. In here, right there. Thank you. You've been very nice. Now I suppose you'll go on across the world.
Not tonight. We're staying here, making repairs.
Where do you come from? And where are you going?
From Cape Cod. I'm going to the Guianas.
Isn't that South America? I've traveled far. On maps. I was born here in this house, and I've never been 50 miles away.
Oh, that's incredible. But you seem like a girl who's been everywhere in the world and had the best education, everything.
My father has many books in there, that's all.
Your eyes are remarkable. Gray-green, like olive leaves, and magnetic. I came ashore to ask you if you had a large water supply, and if I might fill my casks.
Of course. Rainwater, the cistern's full.
I'll send my man Halbert, then.
Yes.
There's something else in your eyes, in your voice. What is it? Fear?
Fear? Why, no, of course not. What should I be afraid of?
I don't know. But I saw it in your father's face, too.
It's only your imagination.
Yes, no doubt. Goodbye, then. Thank you for the fishing. Strange how this girl should upset me so. I tried to resist, but that evening I found myself going back to her. Tying the tender to the little pier, I watched as she came to meet me.
I'm glad you came. The fish waited.
Oh, don't tell me. I'd rather not know. I might be tempted to mention it in the future, and I'm sure it would sound like a fish story.
But it was imposing. Nicholas waited. He's our man. He's back. Let's stay here, by the sea. It's so lovely in the moonlight.
All right. Oh, it is nice here.
I lied to you today about fear. I suppose I am afraid. I suppose my father has passed some of his fear on to me.
Why is he afraid?
Well, that's a long story, going back to the First War.
Please tell me.
Well, he was a young man then, and he didn't go to war. It wasn't that he was a coward exactly. He just couldn't adjust to it mentally. People mocked him, laughed at him, and threatened him. That's when a sort of perpetual fear started. He ran away. He met my mother and married her. They came here. None of us has ever left this lonely place. Never will, perhaps.
Your mother?
She's dead. Loneliness killed her. Perhaps it's no wonder that I sound timid or afraid. Perhaps I am.
Aren't you lonely, too?
I don't know anything else. But what about you? Who are you that you go sailing about the world with only your sailor for company?
Oh, I'm nobody. My name is John Woolfolk.
And you do nothing but sail about the world?
Nothing.
Why?
Well, let's say I don't like modern society. Let's say I don't like entanglements.
I see.
Oh, I didn't mean...
You needn't apologize. I envy you your freedom. I sit here a great deal and watch the ships far out there on their water roads. You are enviable. Sailing where you like. Safe and free. Safe and free.
There is something more than you've told me. More behind this fear in your voice.
No.
But perhaps I can help.
No, please.
What's that?
It's Nicholas. Blowing on the counter. I've got to go in.
I'll come with you.
No, please. No, don't come. You'll be going soon.
Tomorrow, perhaps.
Then, goodbye. Goodbye.
Now I knew the terror I'd only sensed was real. This girl was possessed by fear. This house held some terrible secret. What could it be? Next morning, Halbert suggested we repaint the engines, and I agreed. We'd stay another day or two. Later, Halbert went in to fill a cask of water. He came back without the cask and livid with rage.
There was an idiot in that house. Next time I'll take the pistol.
What do you mean? Where's the cask?
It was broken.
How?
It was filling it at the cistern, and this idiot, a huge hulking brute, came out of the house. He told me to get away. Well, I tried to explain that we had permission, but he came at me with a knife, gibbering. Well, I hit him, but it was like hitting an ox. He put his foot on the cask and crushed it.
I'll see about this.
You be careful, sir. The man's not right. He's dangerous. Plenty dangerous.
I went ashore and around to the back door of the house. Millie wasn't in sight, and when I knocked, a lumbering giant with pig-like eyes came to the door.
What do you want?
I take it you're Nicholas, the man who broke my water cask.
It was full of our water.
I'm not going to argue with you. I came ashore to instruct you to keep your hands off my property and my sailors.
Oh, let our water be.
I told you I wouldn't discuss the matter. I don't have to justify myself to you. Just remember, keep your hands
Don't
off.
get me started.
What do you mean started?
Here, don't get me started. Mind, I warned you. And don't put
down
this
that
on.
knife.
Go away now. Don't get me started.
Stand
Go
back.
away. Don't get me started. I'm telling you.
Nicholas, stop. What is this? What's the matter?
Nothing. Nicholas and I have had a little misunderstanding, that's all. It's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about, I said. But when I got back to the boat, I couldn't help asking myself why I'd left her with that brute. I just about made up my mind to go ashore again to check up when I saw her waving on the beach. She wanted to visit the boat. I went and got her. There was no hint of terror in her face now, just shining, girlish wonderment at the polished metal and the gleaming wood of the ketch. I offered to take her for a sail, and her face lighted up like a child's. But when we reached the heavy swells outside the reef, her face got white, and she froze.
It's so big.
Are you frightened? I'll turn back.
I'd rather you didn't. I must learn. I'm not a child.
No, we're going back. Before we got to the anchorage, her panic was almost out of control. But safely moored once more, she calmed slowly and said,
How strange. To be forced back to this place I loathe by my own cowardice.
It's not cowardice. The sea is frightening to those unused to it. Come, you must forget it now. How about we'll have tea for us in a moment? How do you like our boat?
It's quite wonderful. Have you nothing else to care for? No place or people on land?
None.
And you're satisfied?
Hardly. All the things most men value were taken from me in an instant.
Can you talk about it?
Why, I haven't for 12 years. Not to anybody, but... Now? Yes, I think I can. You see, we were just married. Only a few days. We were very, very happy. Then, in one instant, she was dead. It was a silly, stupid accident thrown from a horse, without rhyme or reason.
So you left everything, taking your revenge on the world.
You could put it that way, I suppose. I simply don't want to take a second chance to become involved and be hurt.
But that's living. To be hurt. Do you think you can escape so easily?
I don't know.
Oh, I must go. Father will be waiting.
Why so suddenly? There's... Oh, yes, I see. That's Nicholas on the beach looking out here, isn't it?
Yes. Dinner will be ready.
Why do you have a servant like that? That man's dangerous.
You mustn't say that. Please don't. Just take me in, please.
Now I knew that she, too, was afraid of Nicholas. I could see it in her eyes. Why, then, did I let her go to him? I don't know. I was confused, I guess. That night a storm broke, a raging wind and rain, and to match my tortured mood. I hardly slept. Her face was always before my eyes, and by morning I knew that I must do something. I rode the tender in through a drizzling rain. I went up through the orange grove and stopped in the bushes by the house. Someone was coming out of the house, and I crouched down out of sight. It was Millie. I rose and called for her. Millie!
Oh, it's you. I was just coming out to look. I was afraid you'd gone out. The sea is like a pack of wolves.
I won't go alone, not without you.
What are you saying? That's madness.
No, I've got to talk to you, Millie. There's a lot that needs explaining. Things that I have a right to know.
No, not here. Come.
She led me into one of the smaller ruined buildings. What must have been a store in the days of the great plantation. We crouched far back in the dripping shadows of a corner.
Now.
Millie, I love you. For the first time in 12 years, I'm living again, and I love you.
I know nothing of love.
It's easily learned.
Well, perhaps if things were different, someplace else, I might care very much.
Then I'm going to take you away someplace else. Make things different. Give you the chance.
No. It's too late. You came too late.
Why, Millie? Why? What is it? What is it you fear?
Nicholas.
Oh, he's nothing. Nothing to be afraid of. Has he been bothering you?
He says he's crazy about me. He says I must marry him.
Where is he now?
No, you mustn't, John. Something frightful would happen.
Not frightful, just unfortunate for Nicholas.
You don't understand. He's not human. There's something about him.
What about him?
He came here in April. We were glad to get him. Servants are impossible to get back here in the wilderness. He would work for the smallest wages. Only a few days ago, I found out why he was glad to be here. I was cleaning his room, and I found this.
Let's see. Wanted for murder. Iscon Nicholas, homicidal maniac.
He knows I found it. He knows. And he's been furious. Then you came, and he ran and hid in the pines. But he told me if I spoke about it, then it would happen to me. And if I left with you, it would happen to Father. You see, he thinks I'm in love with you. He told me to send you away. He said you must leave today.
Millie, I should have realized.
He says I must not be away for longer than an hour. I must go.
Look, Millie, it'll take us a couple of hours to get the boat ready. I'll come for you tonight at 8. Now, tell him you saw me and I promised to go. And act quietly. Say you've been upset. You'll give him his answer tomorrow. Then at 8, bring your father and walk out to the wharf. That's all. But do it without hesitation or preparation.
Oh, don't let him hurt us. Oh, please don't.
Not now. He's finished, Millie. But do as I say. It won't be long, hardly 3 hours. And then, freedom. Now that I knew, now that there was to be action, I felt better. Halvard and I got the ketch ready for sailing, and 8 o'clock we tied it up to the little pier. The storm had abated slightly, but it was still raining. I got up on the dock and waited for Millie. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Something was wrong. I told Halvard to wait there with the tender. Then I walked slowly up to the house. It was dark. I went up to the side portico to the heavy door. A tiny crack of light showed under it. I pushed it open. The light came from a parlor to the right. I looked in. On the floor lay a body. Old Litchfield Stope. He was dead, crushed. His arm twisted grotesquely under him. There was not a sound in the house. Slowly I walked through the downstairs rooms. Nothing. And back in the hall I heard a slight creak. Upstairs someone had moved. Was it Millie, alive? Or Nicholas, lying in wait? I groped slowly up the stairs. I dared not use my flashlight. It would have made me a target for his knife. The upstairs hall was pitch black, and still there was no sound. I inched my way along the wall, slowly. Then I stumbled on a loose board. The pistol flew out of my hand, but the stumble saved my life. The same instant I felt Nicholas lunge. Heard the knife sing past my ear and thud into the wall. Felt his great bulk smashing on my shoulder. My gun was somewhere on the dark floor. His knife was embedded in the wall. Now we were grappling hand to hand, rolling on the floor, kicking, tearing, gouging, crushing. My strength and wit against the massive bulk of a maniacal killer. How many minutes did that unequal struggle last? I don't know. It seemed an hour. Several times, as if by common consent, we rested for minutes at a time, locked in tight embrace. Once we rolled apart and lay panting, the breath aching in my throat. Then I heard him groping along the wall, searching for the knife or the gun. I threw myself on him again, but he was too big, too furious. I felt my strength ebbing away. His fingers were closing over my throat. With one last effort, I tried to throw him off, to roll him off. I staggered dazedly to my feet and looked up. He'd fallen through the banister down the stairwell. Nicholas had landed on the bottom. He lay there on the stairs, sprawled, his head at a grotesque angle. But he was not dead, only stunned. I leaned against the wall, looked at him stupidly. There was something I was trying to remember. What was it? Then she came down the steps, and I remembered. Millie.
I had to walk right past him. There was no other way. Right past his head and my skirt. I think we better go away. It's quite impossible here with him in the hall where you have to pass so close.
Millie, yes, we'll leave at once.
I must tell you about my father. You know, in Virginia, the women tied an apron on the door because he would not go to war, and that preyed on his mind, and he was afraid of the slightest thing.
Yes, I know, but we must go.
Things upset him so. He had no strength.
To hear him talk like this, like a sick child, was almost more than I could bear. But now I heard something. Nicholas had gotten up. He stood there and stared for a moment at us. Then he started slowly up the stairs. He was going for the
Then
knife.
this little thing upset him.
Millie, we've got to go.
I was to meet a man. We were going away someplace where it'd be peaceful. He said at 8 o'clock. But Nicholas suspected, you see. He asked why Father had put on his heavy winter clothes. Then when I tried to go out, he pushed me.
Millie.
And do you know what Father did then? He came up and he said, "Don't do that. Take your hands off my daughter." His lips shook a little, but he said it. That's the important thing.
Yes, of course. Your father was a brave man after all. Now, come, that man is waiting for you. There's no time to lose.
Father said, "Take your hands off my daughter." Nicholas killed him, of course. Crushed him like a little mosquito. But it was a brave thing to do.
I couldn't wait any longer. I had to risk whatever injury it might do to her mind. I could hear Nicholas coming back. I swept her up in my arms and carried her out into the night, down the path to the little pier. Behind me, I could hear Nicholas crashing through the brush like a giant animal in pursuit.
Are you all right, sir?
Yes, about done in, but all right. Here, help me get her in the boat.
Yes, sir. There. Somebody's coming.
It's Nicholas. He's got a knife.
Good. They wanted to get back at him. You get in, sir. I'll take care of him.
Calvert went to intercept Nicholas on the path. I heard them meet and struggle for a moment. Then a stooped figure came walking slowly onto the pier. I prepared to shove the boat out into the water, and then...
All right, sir. It's me.
Oh, Halbert. Where's Nicholas?
They stopped him. He was all pumped up.
Are you hurt?
No, just a scratch. They missed his knife at first in the dark. It's nothing.
Good. Let's get away from here, then. I held Millie in my arms as Halbert rowed to the catch erratically, I suppose, because of the storm. We were ready to cast off in 2 minutes. The last obstacle would be the narrow passing out of the cove. In this storm, it would be dangerous, very dangerous. I started to take Millie into the cabin.
No! There's Nicholas! In the doorway!
Nonsense. Nicholas is dead. You're on my boat, Millie. You're safe, Millie.
Safe? With John Woolfolk?
I am John Woolfolk.
But you didn't come.
Yes, I did, Millie. And you're safe. Come.
I want to stay here.
All right. You sit here beside Halbert. I'm going up front to take soundings.
In this van, you won't be able to hear me if I call.
No, but you can hear me. Remember, we've only 3 feet clearance. You'll have to hold it steady through the passage.
Oh, I'll manage it.
Halbert, this is no time for pretense. How do you feel?
All right. They've taken knives before. Just a scratch.
All right, we'll fix it as soon as we get outside. Now let's go. Turn over the engines. Pull up anchor. The boat headed into the tearing wind of the storm, sped swiftly toward the narrow inlet. A foot too far on either side, and we would hit. In this sea, that would mean death for us all. I stood far up on the bow, taking soundings, feeling out the passage. Fore! The howling wind carried my call back to Halbert. The boat veered. I realized he must have lost a lot of blood. Halbert! Halbert, steady her! Slowly, haltingly, it came around. 3.5! Steady now! But it was anything but steady. The boat waved and swung as if an amateur hand were on the wheel. In a moment, we might hit. 3.25! We were in the passage. Hold steady, Halbert! Steady! For just another moment. Just one moment. 3.5! We're through! Good boy, Halbert! Good boy, Halbert, I called. But when I went back, it was not Halbert at the wheel. It was Millie. Millie, her hands steady, her eyes washed clear of any madness. Millie with a tight little smile on her face, but no fear. And Halbert lay rolling with the swells in the bottom of the cockpit.
I'm afraid he's dead, John. He was wounded worse than you thought.
Halbert dead?
He told me to take the wheel. Said it was life or death. Then he slid down like that.
When? When was this?
Back there in the passage. Just when you said 3.5. I'm afraid I wasn't very good. But I held on.
Oh, Millie. You were wonderful.
No, not yet. But I'll learn, John. I'll learn.
Escape is produced by William N. Robeson and was directed tonight by Richard Sandville. You have just heard Wild Oranges by Joseph Hergesheimer, adapted for radio by John Dunkel, with Paul Frees as John Woolfolk, Jeanette Nolan as Millie Stopes, Bill Conrad as Halvard, Jack Crucian as Nicholas, and Sherry Hall as Litchfield Stopes. The special musical score was conceived and conducted by Cy Feuer. Next week...
You've planned it very well. She's dead, and you feel no remorse. Your escape has worked out perfectly. There's nothing to worry about. Except, perhaps, an unexpected Christmas present.
Next week, we escape with John Collier's grim story, Back for Christmas. Good night, then, until this same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Instant Ralston and regular Ralston, the hot whole wheat cereals in the red and white checkerboard packages present Space Patrol! High adventure in the wild, vast reaches of space. Missions of daring in the name of interplanetary justice. Travel into the future with Buzz Corey, Commander-in-Chief of the Space Patrol! In today's transcribed Space Patrol adventure, Buzz and Happy are in the refrigeration control compartment of their spaceship on a flight to Venus. The air is rapidly leaking from their ship, and then they discover a giant worm clinging to the wall of the ship.
Take this bar and knock it loose, Happy. Yes, it won't come loose. It's as hard as metal. You're right. That's what it eats. Feeding on the Endurium bulkhead. That's how the air is escaping. Smoking rockets, Commander. It's eating clear through the hull. We'll suffocate.
We'll return in just a moment to today's exciting Space Patrol adventure, The Iron Eaters of Planet X. Space Patrollers, have you entered the sensational Name the Planet contest yet? Well, you better hurry. Time's going fast, and you don't want to be left out. So hurry up and go with Mom or Dad to your Weatherbird shoe store for your free coin album and contest entry blank. Right. The Weatherbird Shoeman will give you a swell coin album with 3 super-colored space coins inside, plus the entry blank on which you write your name for Planet X. Yes, you just name that tremendous new planet 5,000 times bigger than Earth. And your name for Planet X can win you a giant rocket clubhouse on wheels, or one of the 1,750 other big prizes. Now, just imagine, gang, a 35-foot-long, 10,000-pound rocket clubhouse on wheels with a big, honest-to-goodness motor truck to pull it. And inside the rocket clubhouse are built-in bunks, lockers, electric lights, cooking equipment, all sorts of things for real Space Patrol living for you and your pals. And don't forget, the Space Patroller who wins the rocket clubhouse will also win the big motor truck and $1,500 cash. But don't wait, gang. Get started now on winning the Rocket Clubhouse or one of the 1,750 other swell prizes. Hurry to your Weatherbird shoe store now and enter the Name the Planet contest today. And now, today's Space Patrol adventure, The Iron Eaters of Planet X. For weeks now, there has been no major crime along the space lanes. Days have passed since a Space Patrol ship has reported even so much as a sighting of spacecraft approaching or leaving Planet X. Patrol ships ordered in close to the giant planet have made swift, daring scanning flights over known installations and have returned with identical reports. No new or suspicious activity. But still, Commander Corey holds firmly to his policy of constant vigilance. And then one day, a patrol ship spacephones a report that justifies the commander's alertness. In his central office on the planet Terra, Buzz hands a copy of the report to the cadet.
Atomic radiation trace to sector J14, Planet X. Nuclear reactor in full operation. 2 power radiation towers focused southeast and south.
Well, that's why things have been so quiet, Happy.
Baccarati's in his own backyard cooking up trouble.
That nuclear reactor, he can cook up plenty.
I wonder what he's using it for.
Take a look at this map of Planet X. Those thin green lines show where Baccarati's beaming the power from his reactor. One beam goes toward his biggest spaceship plant. The other is aimed toward a mining region. See what that means?
You can speed up production of spaceships and war materials.
Exactly.
Well, then we'd better put that reactor out of operation quick.
Yeah, that part is fairly simple. A cosmic bomb would take care of that, but we have reason to believe that 8 of the most brilliant nuclear scientists of the United Planets are at that planet.
Captured by Baccarati, huh?
Yes. We didn't attempt to capture that planet by a land attack with endangered.
That's right. You sure got us stymied.
For the present. What we need is a way of creating a panic about the reactor plant. A panic that will completely disorganize Baccarati's men, yet won't appear to be caused by the space patrol.
That's a big order.
There's a man on Venus who may be able to help us. Expert on mass psychology, and Professor Zillow. He's unable to come to Terra because of his illness, so we're going to Venus.
Oh, why couldn't you just...
Why couldn't I space upon him? This is a matter I want to keep completely secret.
Yeah, the Baccarati spy is still around. He might intercept the spacephone message.
Right. Let's get over to the spaceport supply depot, Hank.
Oh, your appointment with Bert Gank.
Mm-hmm. He's the new civilian supervisor in the ship's supply section. Just a courtesy call, but it might help him to let him know that Space Patrol understands his problem.
He'll probably have plenty. The last man on that job couldn't take it after this trouble with Baccarati started.
Bert Gant's a younger man, Hap. Let's hope he's a capable one.
On the monster Planet X, Prince Baccarati glares at a control panel. The chair in which he sits looks strangely out of place. Massive and gaudy, it looks more like the throne of an oriental potentate who ruled on Earth 15 centuries ago. Regally, Baccarati turns as his chief advisor, Dr. Malengo, enters the tower room and bows before him.
Good news, Your Highness. 2 more power relay towers are in operation. At this rate, Your Excellency's castle will soon be lighted by your reactor plant thousands of miles away.
That's not important right now. That tower is for factories and mines. I must have spaceships, hundreds of them, enough to conquer Commander Corey's space patrol.
Of course, Your Highness. But perhaps Corey won't be alive to witness your glorious victory over his ships.
Oh, then our little presents from the Iron Mountain are on their way.
Well on their way. They were routed to Terra by way of Neptune. By the time they reach Terra, they will look like a routine shipment of supplies.
Oh, the ships they're carried in, they have adequate refrigeration?
Yes, sire. Your agent on Terra has arranged every detail.
There must be no mistake. Our little surprise must be in Corey's ship the next time he blasts off. Oh, the agent on Terra. Tell him to contact me by spacephone. What's his name?
Gank, Your Highness. Bert Gank.
In an office of the Spaceport Supply Depot on Terra, Buzz Corey and Cadet Happy are having a friendly chat with the new civilian supervisor amid the murmur of a battery of auditing machines.
I'll be blasting off for Venus in a few hours. You'll be working closely with the supervisor of Venus City Spaceport. I'd like to have you come along and meet him.
Go with me?
Yes, I don't intend to be away long.
But I'm just getting into the swing of things here. To leave now...
I know how you feel, but from past experience, I know that first-hand knowledge of the situation on Venus will make your work much easier here.
Commander, this is wonderful. I'd like nothing better. But the fact is, my doctor has cautioned me about space flights while I'm under treatment.
That's different. Nothing serious, I hope.
A temporary condition. I had a minor operation a few weeks ago.
Some other time, then. Cadet Happy and I will get out of here now, Mr. Gant, and let you get back to work.
Several hours later, in his private living quarters, Bert Gant tunes the spacephone transmitter to a rarely used frequency, then clicks on a scrambler circuit. Using a code name for even greater secrecy, he finally makes contact with a man who sits in a throne-like chair on a planet billions of miles away.
Triangle reporting to Your Highness.
Make it quick, Triangle. I don't want them getting a fix on your location.
Oh, you blasted off.
Crates from Iron Mountain aboard?
Yes, Your Highness. The refrigeration system will fail an hour after blast-off. And then the contents of those crates will go to work. He'll never reach Venus. Find out.
Nearly 2 hours out of Terra, Commander Corey and Cadet Happy are working their way aft with the ship on automatic control. Happy, stripped to the waist and covered with grease, is wiping the perspiration from his forehead with the back of his hand.
Not just in supply compartment 3, sir. Refrigeration's cutting out all over the ship.
You're telling me. The hull is reflecting back quite a bit of the heat into space, but pouring through the viewport.
I thought I could fix it in 50, but it's a lot more serious than a blown fuse or a stuck relay.
Let's take a look at the connections in the terminal box.
Hey, the trouble might be in there at that.
The cover's bolted on. Hand me a wrench.
Yes, sir. Let's see, I left it lying right there on the floor, and it will put rings around my head and call me Saturn. Look at this.
You call that a wrench?
It's the handle of it, or part of the handle.
Don't tell me you broke an Endurium wrench.
Who, me?
Let me see that.
Yes, sir.
It's as though it had been cut in a Tomo toy.
You cut a wrench. Besides, there's nobody else aboard to cut it.
We'll worry about it later. Get me a wrench out of the toolkit. Got around here?
Yes, sir. I had it right over here. The toolkit's gone. Hey, Commander, I know you think I'm space happy, but it's true. I lugged it in here and set it down. Somebody must be aboard. A stover. We'd better search.
Hold it, Happy. What's down there? Aren't those the plastic handles of some of the tools?
It's an orifice. But they are, all right.
I think you're right about a stowaway.
And he made the reefer system talk out. Wait till I get my hands on him. Commander, what's that? Up there in the bulkhead.
It looks like a big welt in the metal.
But, Commander, it's moving. I think I saw it move.
You're right. Crawling along like a worm. A gigantic worm.
Where did that thing come from? A worm as long as your arm.
There's another one. Lower down on the other bulkhead.
Hey, our stowaway brought them aboard to keep us interested while he wrecked the ship.
No, these are the stowaways. Huh? Look at the metal bulkhead. Pitted where they crawled.
Gee, that's Endurium. How could a worm make any impression on a sheet of Endurium?
Because that's what they eat.
What?
That and other metals. That's what's happened to the tools. Hap, get that rod.
Yes, sir. Here it is, sir.
We can knock them off with that.
It's coming loose, sir.
Yeah, now get the other one.
Well, come loose. It's stuck tight.
Wait, Hap. Lean close to it and listen.
Feeding a metal bucket.
Got to shut this compartment off in a hurry before this thing eats a bigger hole.
Yes, sir.
Now let's get forward and boost the oxygen supply.
Commander, look. Out there in the corridor. There are dozens of them.
All our air's escaping.
We're too late. They've eaten through the hull.
We'll return to Space Patrol in just a moment. You have 1,750 chances to win in the Name the Planet contest. Right, Space Patrollers. 1,750 chances to win a wonderful prize, like a Schwinn bicycle, for example. 750 Schwinn varsity bicycles are being given away. Schwinn, a lightweight bike, plenty sharp-looking, plenty rugged, with 3-speed gear shift and 2-wheel handbrakes. And listen, you have 1,000 chances to win a beautiful Space Patrol wristwatch, or a super-powered autosonic rifle, a streamlined outer space helmet, or a valuable Space Patrol emergency kit. And remember, every Space Patroller can get a free prize. Just have Mom or Dad go with you to your Weatherbird shoe store for your free space coin album. Now, inside it, you'll find your Name the Planet contest entry blank and free space coins. Terrific coins, big as $50, with designs of planets on them in starlight silver. So good-looking, you'll want to get more and build a real space coin collection. And here's how. Inside every new package of good hot Ralston, you'll find another swell space coin to add to your album. And on the outside of every new hot Ralston package, directions for entering the contest in case there's no Weatherbird shoe store near you. Look for the package with a picture of the Commander or Cadet Happy on the front. So go to your Weatherbird shoe store for your free coin album, get a package of good hot Ralston with a free space coin, and enter the Name the Planet contest now. And now, back to our Space Patrol adventure, the Iron Eaters of Planet X. While Buzz and Happy are on a trip to Venus, their refrigeration system fails. The interior of the spaceship rapidly becomes stifling because of the sun's heat absorbed by the hull. As they attempt to locate the cause of the trouble in their ship's cooling system, they discover two enormous worm-like creatures, literally feeding on the endurium bulkhead of the ship. They seal off that compartment, but find dozens more of the metal-devouring worms in the corridor. Now, with air rapidly escaping into space, they stagger toward the forward end of the ship, gasping for breath.
Seal off this section, Hap. Help me with the door. Yes, sir. There's another worm on the bulkhead over your head. Here's the spacesuit locker. We'd better get into our spacesuits before that one eats through the hull. Here, Hap, get into it quick. Yes, sir. The worm dropped to the deck. Hey, look at that hole. All the air will be gone before we can get our suits on. I'll press my spacesuit tight against the hole. That'll stop the leak till you get into your suit. Then you do the same for me. Yes, sir.
Fighting against blacking out from lack of oxygen, Happy struggles into his spacesuit. Then, revived by the air supply within the suit, he holds his gloved hand over the hole in the ship while Buzz dons his suit. A few moments later, Buzz is at the controls of the ship, correcting their vector toward Venus. Happy returns from an inspection back aft, smiling through the faceplate of the spacesuit.
Commander, I got great news. What do you think? Those worms are all dead. We can seal up the holes in the ship, cut on the air supply.
All right, Hap. We'll seal up the holes, but we'll keep the air turned off until just before entering the Venus atmosphere.
Yes, sir. But why?
For two reasons. There's no air in the ship. The interior is now as cold as outer space. That's a bonus with our refrigeration system out of order.
Yes, sir. But what's the second reason?
The worms. How do you know they're dead?
Well, they died when the air left the ship.
Perhaps it was the cold that affected them. To make the ship warm again by bringing the air up to normal pressure, they might thaw out.
Keep it cold. But, sir, what makes you think it's low temperature rather than lack of air that's hot?
That may be a coincidence. But isn't it strange that we should have this mysterious trouble with our cooling system on the very same trip that those weird, meth-eating monsters show up?
Wow.
How did they get aboard the ship? What did happen to our cooling system that couldn't register on our electronic trouble indicator?
Did you think they were already frozen when they were put aboard?
Someone planned the failure of our refrigeration system to revive the worm.
But who could have done it?
We might have a clue after Professor Erskine examines these creatures.
Professor Erskine?
Venus University. He's an authority on planetary zoology. He can examine the worms while I'm at the hospital talking to Professor Bulow.
Hours later, Happy sits in an office at Venus City Space Patrol headquarters, anxiously awaiting the commander's return from his conference with Professor Bulow, the expert on mass psychology. At last, the door opens.
Commander, did the professor come up with an idea? Can he tell us how to disorganize the reactor plant?
We can't expect miracles, Happy. Before he can come up with a practical plan, he's got to know about conditions on Planet X. Better luck with the other professor, huh? Zoologist.
Oh, will you talk to him, too?
Yes. Professor Erskine examined our metal-eating pets. He had to dissect them with an atomo torch.
I'm not surprised.
Their systems are designed to transform metallic substances into nourishing chemical compounds. Not like the living creatures we're familiar with, who aren't dependent on plants to transform minerals into food.
Are any of the worms still alive?
Yes, they revived. They're safely sealed in old-fashioned wooden boxes. They won't eat anything that was once alive in the sense that we know. No meat, fish, plants, or trees.
Just nice, juicy endurium wrinkles and tender spaceships.
The professor is sure their basic food is iron. He lifted with a magnet.
But where do they come from?
He doesn't know. He refuses even to guess.
Well, if he doesn't know, who does?
We do. The professor eliminated all the planets but one.
Planet X.
Right.
But how did they get in the ship? Who put them there?
We're blasting off the Terra immediately, Happy. There's someone there I want to talk to. Someone I think can answer.
Meantime, in Prince Baccarati's castle, His Highness is receiving an urgent spaceable message from Terra. Unscrambled, a frantic voice is earnestly pleading.
Something went wrong, Your Highness. Corey is still alive. He's coming back to Terra.
I've already heard the news triangle from my agent on Venus.
Question me. He probably suspects me as it is. If he gives me a brainograph test, he'll know everything. You've got to protect me.
Don't worry. Corey will never question you. I'll order one of my other agents on Terra to take care of you. His name is Brugger. Now, don't worry.
Thank you, Your Highness. Thank you.
Baccarati out. Yes, Brugger will take good care of Birdgen, the incompetent bungler.
Back on Terra in his private quarters, Bert Gant paces the floor nervously. In the corner is a bag packed with a few belongings. At the sound of footsteps outside his room, he stops pacing, eyes staring wildly at the door. And then...
Who is it? Over there.
Oh, God, wonderful. I've been worried. My bags are all packed. I'm ready to go.
Put it down, Gent. You aren't going anywhere.
But His Highness said you would take care of me.
That's right. You're this.
No. No, don't shoot me. This is all a mistake.
Yeah. So you made it. His Highness doesn't like bunglers.
There are other people in the building. They'll hear the gun.
It's silent. Now lie down so you won't die.
No. No, Ruger, please.
Drop it, Ruger.
Huh?
I said drop it.
He came just in time. Came just in time. You know what he was going to do.
Yes, I know, and I know why he was going to do it.
What do you mean?
Don't play innocent, John. You supervised the loading of my ship. You saw to it that those metal-eating worms were loaded into the refrigeration compartment in metal boxes.
Really,
You fixed the solenoids and the magnetic heating exchange pump so they conked out. As the ship warmed up inside, the worms thawed and ate their way out.
I did do it. Honestly,
You had it done then. Baccarati's orders. That's why you were afraid to come to Venus with me. You never had a minor operation. I had your record checked.
I had to do it. Baccarati had something on me. Something that happened years ago. If I'd come out, I could never have held a good job with the government.
So you helped a man who's trying to destroy the government you worked for. That's great logic, son. Now give it to me straight and fast. I'm in a hurry. Those worms came from Planet X, didn't they? Yes. Where on Planet X?
From the Iron Mountain. It has a high percentage of iron ore. The worms are thick on it, and then it's like an atom.
X is a big planet. Where is Iron Mountain?
In sector L15, about 100 miles east of the Colossus River.
Happy.
Yes, sir.
You'll see that Gant and Bobo are locked up. And we'll blast off the Planet X. First, we'll pick up some fishing tackle.
Fishing tackle?
Yes, several tons of steel netting. Let's get these fellows ahead.
Many hours later, the Terra 5 soars over the surface of gigantic Planet X. No enemy ships challenge them because Baccarati's warning system, destroyed by Buzz and Hattie on a previous foray, is still virtually useless. Mile after mile of the vast planet rolls under them. And then, finally, a barren peak looms blackly ahead against the setting sun.
That must be Iron Mountain, sir. It's checked with the grid coordinates.
Notice it's not a growing thing for hundreds of miles, not even a weed. The metal-eating worms have this area all to themselves.
They can have it.
All right, Hatton, we'll cut our velocity and get ready to land at the base of the mountain. Open the bomb bay.
Bomb bay open, sir.
Lower the net. Cut on the cargo winches. That's enough. Now, when we land, that tangle of steel netting will be stretched out on the ground several feet behind the ship. Stand by to cut rocket.
Standing by.
Cut rocket. Full repeller ray.
What's to keep them from attacking the ship?
Repeller ray. A half unit ought to keep them away. Won't lift the ship.
I'm worried about the cables holding the net to the ship. Those are steel, too.
They're covered with thick plastic. It's organic material, not mineral. The worms won't touch those cables.
Commander, they're crawling to the net already. It's almost as though they could smell it.
We'll wait till they get a good haul, then we'll blast off.
Within a few minutes, the heavy steel net is a mass of giant crawling creatures, eagerly devouring what to them is a rare delicacy. Finally, Buzz turns to Happy.
We'll blast off now before they do much damage to the net. Cut on the rear magnetic beam. That'll hold them to the net, and also keep chewed-up pieces of the net from falling.
Yes, sir.
We'll rise up several feet with the repeller ray, Hap, so the rocket blast won't ruin our dinner party. Fire rockets. Cut repeller ray. We'll go up several miles where it's good and cold. That'll put the worms quietly to sleep the way it did in our ship.
I don't think we've lost any of them, sir.
We'll keep our velocity down fairly low so the net won't trail back into the rocket blast.
And that means we won't reach the reactor plant until long after dark.
That's fine. Baccarati's men won't be able to identify the ship. When it flies over and nothing happens, they'll assume it's a Planet X ship.
High above Planet X, the Terra 5, with its strange cargo dangling beneath it, roars toward the nuclear reactor plant through the utter blackness. Then through the infrared viewscope, Happy sights two tall metal towers rising several hundred yards from a group of massive buildings.
There it is, sir. I'm going to fly as close to those towers as I can so the net won't have to fall far. Professor Erskine assures me that the worms are practically indestructible and have absolutely no sense of pain. Still, I'm going to make it as easy as possible. The net's just a few feet off the ground, sir. All right, Hap. I'm going to fire nose rockets and apply the repeller ray. For a couple of seconds, we'll be hovering right next to the towers. Be ready to release the net. Yes, sir. Cut it loose. All clear, sir. Let's get away from here.
And so, with a burst of speed, the spaceship leaves the reactor plant far behind. Then, using the row of hills to the east as a shield, returns and lands to wait developments. If the ship has alarmed the personnel at the reactor plant, there is no sign. Hours pass. Then, in the dim light of dawn, black lumps on the ground begin to move. The chill of outer space is leaving their bodies, and they awake. They munch contentedly on strands of the steel net, as though it were soft spaghetti. Soon, the net is gone, and they crawl toward the Endurian towers. There is no hurry, no greedy scrambling. There is food for all, hunger. The towers continue to radiate their tremendous, invisible energy across Planet X. And in the growing lights on top of the hill, Buzz and Happy watch. Then, suddenly, Happy exclaims,
Wow. See that flash of light?
The worm from North Cross trace from one of the towers. It fell and cut through a heavy power line from the generators.
Hey, the crew is coming out of the buildings now.
Yeah, screaming out.
Hey, look at them scatter. And no wonder the towers are buckling.
The men are in no danger, but they don't know it.
There go the towers. That mob doesn't know what to make of it. But, sir, a few of them are running toward this hill. They must have seen us.
Yes, and so did the rest of them. They're heading the other way, toward the river.
Scared to death, I guess.
Happy, how many men do you count running toward the hill?
Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 8.
That's what I got. Those are the men we came for, Happy. The atomic expert, Baccarati, abducted. Let's go down and meet them, Hap.
Yes, sir. You know, Commander, I've always heard that a worm turns, but I never expected to see a worm do anybody a good turn.
That's my cadet.
An action preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure in just a moment.
Space Patrollers, this is Commander Corey. I don't want you to miss the opportunity to win the Giant Rocket Clubhouse or one of the other big prizes. You'll have to hurry. Go with Mother or Dad to your Weatherbird shoe store for your free Space Coin album and contest entry blank. If the Weatherbird man has run out of albums, ask him to get you one. Then you get a package of hot Ralston with the free Space Coin inside. Remember, see your Weatherbird shoe dealer, get some hot Ralston, and enter the Name the Planet contest today.
And now, a preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol adventure. Buzz and Happy are in a scientist's laboratory on the planet Venus, bound hand and foot by Prince Baccarati. As they struggle to free themselves, a vacuum pump steadily draws air from a chamber containing a powerful chemical.
Keep struggling, Happy. You've got to cut off that pump before the chemical explodes.
The cord is digging into my wrist. How much time have we got?
It'll blow up when the indicator reaches 1/100th of an atmosphere pressure.
100? Smoking rockets is almost that right now. The ropes are so tight I can hardly move.
Be sure to join us again next week for the thrilling story, Cyclone in Outer Space, when Instant Ralston and Regular Ralston again present Space Patrol! Space Patrol, created by Mike Moser, starring Ed Kemmer as Commander Corey and Len Osborne as Cadet Happy, was written by Lou Houston, produced and directed by Larry Robertson, executive producer Mike Devery. Other players were Bela Kovach, Ken Mayer, and Norman Jolly. Dick Tufeld speaking. Now, don't forget to tune in next Saturday and every Saturday when Instant Ralston and Regular Ralston again present Space Patrol!
This is Dick Tufeld in St. Louis reporting on the twin-jet Air Force fighter, the McDonnell Voodoo XF-88A. In a moment, we'll hear from the noted test pilot who flies this plane, Phil Houghton. Speed of the Voodoo is a military secret, but it's plenty fast. Wingspan is 40 feet, length 55, weight 10 tons. And now, Phil Houghton, recorded this morning at Lambert Airfield.
After seeing the voodoo, I guess you know why I like my job. There's one thing about it, though. The test pilot has to stay in good condition, get lots of sleep, and eat good, healthy food. That's why I like rice checks and wheat checks and Western. They've got plenty of energy in them, and they really taste well. I think you'll like them, too.
No other cereal, puff or flake, contains so much nourishment in such concentrated bite-sized form. Do as Phil Houghton, J. Ray Donahue, Jr., and other top test pilots do. Make your cereals rice checks and wheat checks. Be sure to see another exciting Space Patrol program on your local ABC television station. Consult your local paper for time and channel. This program is broadcast to our armed forces overseas through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Space Patrol came to you transcribed from Hollywood. This is ABC Radio Network.